Hey, and now, live from conservative Livingston County, Michigan, on a Sunday night Trump-Biden debate recap, this is My Brain. Tonight we have our special guests, Kristina Lyke and Dan Wholihan in studio. I am sitting in for Larry. Actually, he never does do a Sunday night open anyway. So I'm trying to do all things at once, which of course isn't going to happen. I'm trying to give you the man cave shot. But we have me, the earwig that's always here, the real Tim Allen. But now, coming into table. No, I can't. Well, this thing, and I didn't add the man cave shot to the actual opening. The opening. I have to change scenes. When I change things, it actually cuts off the actual opening music. What the heck are you talking about? You sound completely overmodulated.
I do. There we go.
What happened there?
I don't know. I had you in GoPro left up at the top of your screen in the 4K.
Oh, you know what's on?
The man cave shot is plugged into. Oh, you got.
I have a logo on somewhere.
Okay. Anyways, we're live.
Yeah.
Give us a 5x5 out there. Everybody can hear us. My mic is really loud in my ears. Could just be me.
I don't think my mic is not.
Everyone can hear everyone. We're good to go.
Okay. Good deal.
Here's
good deal.
Jeremy Scott Gibbs.
Hey. Welcome to the show, everybody. Yeah. We're going to talk about how Joe Biden handed. What did they hand to him?
Well, Zombie Joe didn't have what it takes anymore. Time to go.
Time to go.
In November.
Start off the show. Do you think he was set up? I think he was set up to prove to him that he can't do it.
Oh, I absolutely do. All the Democrats are saying that. Guess who's going to be our vice president? Whitmer. Yes.
Right. Yeah.
And Newsom is going to be our president.
I did hear that definitely they were going to start fishing around some of the, the Democratic state governors for.
Yeah. Well, that was the whole Whitmer kidnapping BS plot was to try to get her into office in the first place. Was her bid for VP. But the problem is that Kamala was the safety valve. That the whole reason Joe Biden's been in there for the last year is because they can't remove him. Or they're fearful of removing him because then Kamala becomes the president. And nobody wants that.
No.
That's true. And Kamala is very disappointed in them. She was very upset. This is what I heard.
Mm-hmm.
She's upset about how the Democrats are all calling around right after the debate, trying to get Newsom and Whitmer there.
Of course. All right, let's do this to get us started. I'll get us started on the show tonight. The puppet master. We're going to do a little bit of a disclaimer.
Right. That's what we were on. I had you on the wall feed when I first started the show. That's why it was there.
Roger that.
Yeah. So
very good. So before we get deep into this thing,
let me give you that scuttlebutt. Notice this is My Brain disclaimer. This podcast is mostly raw and unfiltered and completely politically incorrect. We say Merry Christmas in season, keeping Christ in that, as that used to be a thing. The Pledge of Allegiance, and especially the part about the one nation under God. We thank our troops for their service when they're in-house, and of course, all you out there listening. We only recognize 2 genders.
Hey, one has a dangle, the other one does not.
Can't tell the difference. You're not knowing. Yeah.
I mean, it's clear to the barnyard animals, but maybe.
Yes, as adults, we do enjoy a couple clinky clink adult beverages, and we cuss. We do have some language.
Water.
We do not curse. Or swear. There's a difference between those things. Look it up.
Yeah.
We love our Savior, Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, but hate religion and religious hypocrites. If any of this offends you, if any of that just made you just start to get triggered and want to go out into the woods and scream, make sure to send your notes to This Is My Brain hosts at outlook.com
Yeah.
for your highlights of you trying to lambast the show while you post it to your leftist social media. Because I could use them for highlights later. I'd appreciate it.
Yeah,
Back
that'll
to
go
you.
to Larry directly.
Yes, that'll go to Larry, but I'll get him eventually.
Because I don't want to see it.
Yeah, that email is that one right there.
Very
This
nice.
is my brain host at outlook.com.
There it is. All right, so there we go. Disclaimer. Any disclaimers from across the table here?
No
Counselor?
disclaimers, but on Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Did you notice right before Trump came in, people were saying Happy Holidays.
Yep.
Happy Holidays to everyone.
Oh, yeah.
I always told people Merry Christmas to you, and they
Exactly.
smiled. They were afraid to say it back to me. I said, "You can say it. It's
Yeah.
okay. Say it.
Exactly.
You know you want it.
You know you
Yeah.
want
You
to."
can say it.
And so then all of a sudden he's like, Merry Christmas. We say Merry Christmas. And I was so proud of that. And all of a sudden, everybody still continues saying Merry Christmas. Did you notice last Christmas?
Yeah.
People are saying that at the grocery stores.
Yeah.
It was
Absolutely.
wonderful.
They were no longer intimidated and they felt comfortable to say what they really wanted to say.
Right. It's your First Amendment right.
Exactly. Which they're attacking.
Disclaimer on my end, I'm speaking for me tonight, not any of my other hats.
You wear other hats, Dan?
Too many of them.
So you're saying the
You're speaking only for your hat.
flamboyant and lambastic opinions of this.
If Dan gets spicy tonight,
This Dan does not represent the other Dans that he has to be
it's
professionally
because
elected.
Dan's speaking for himself.
That's what it is. Okay.
And it has nothing to do with
And who
beverages.
is that?
All right, let's get into it. Where do you want to start tonight?
Should we start with a Trump debate?
We can start with the Trump debate, wherever you want to go. That's what I got first on the list, but it doesn't have to go in order.
I have a
So let's.
question. I have a question.
Sure.
Okay.
For you who are watching it live and stayed up to do so, what was your visceral reaction when you saw that first 15-second, 20-second just stumble? How did you just? What was the first? How did it make you feel when you saw him just go somewhere else and stumble?
Biden?
Oh, of course. No, not of course.
You talking about the walk across the stage alone, or are you talking about his first comment?
In the first about 12 minutes in, his first loss of cognitive awareness.
I thought to myself,
go
go ahead. I thought to myself, this is why we're having the problems around the world.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if we had Trump in there, we would not be having the problems with China. We'd not be having the problems with Russia.
Yeah.
They look at us as weak. And because look at
he said as much
look at him
too, didn't he?
speaking.
Yeah.
I mean, he slurs his word. He can't say things. And and you have to feel bad for the guy in some aspects because he doesn't know really where he's at.
Exactly.
I would never, ever let my husband get up and do something like that. Not that you would do something like that, honey.
Yeah.
But I mean,
your husband isn't senile and you're not dipping into all the Secret Service agents.
Yeah, my husband is not senile, just for everyone to know.
I missed the first part of the debate.
Okay.
I was on the road, but the first time I saw this guy on there, it reinforces that we have a zombie as our
Commander-in-Chief.
CEO.
Yeah. CEO is a good term since we're a corporation from 1871.
With the presidency, I view it as an employee, a glorified executive director.
Mm-hmm.
And would I hire this guy to be an executive director, even if I agreed with him?
Not in a million years.
He does not have what it takes anymore. Never did, but just as
it's gotten worse.
Oh, it's gotten
do the job ability.
Worse.
Yeah.
And you know how bad it was, because the fact is, all the Democrats, I mean, Obama gave him a little credit afterwards. I don't know if you saw the tweet about him.
Yeah.
But I thought he's actually saying the same thing. And if you notice, Biden kept saying during the debate, "You're a liar. You're a liar." And I thought to myself, is that all you have?
That's all he has.
Is that all you have?
Mm-hmm.
But you can't point out to anything that he said. He was, talking about maybe half things he knew about and half things he was going about something about Iraq, and then he would miscalculate something else. And I'm thinking, where are we going? I couldn't follow through. I loved what President Trump said.
It's like, I don't even know what he said that last.
That was just the best.
I was waiting for that line at some point.
Dude, that was awesome. I was like,
I don't think he knew what he even said that last time.
Mhm.
Yeah, his last words. The one he stumbled over as he got to the end of his phrase, and he just blurted out, "Hammered Medicare," or "Pounded Medicare." So just the last phrase.
It
That
was
the first one.
ridiculous.
It was ridiculous. But yeah, made
my-
me wonder.
No, my visceral reaction from that whole thing was I had two reactions within me listening to him. I watched him stumble, and just like President Trump said in the debate, I wish you were a better president. Then I wouldn't have decided to run again. But you're not, so I have to do this. So on one hand, there was the feeling of triumph or winning over obviously corrupt and failing administration. But on the other hand, the stuff we've lived through for the last 3.5 years is a direct result of this decrepit person who's being controlled by a whole bunch of other people. And they're just marching him out wherever he needs to march out so they can maintain control behind the scenes.
I loved it when he said something about the Border Patrol went and endorsed me. They didn't endorse him, and then came out, I think it was yesterday, saying, just for the record, we did not endorse Biden.
And never have.
Never have.
Yeah.
I mean, he's made their lives miserable and made their children, their state, all of us in danger. I mean, we just saw it. And that's my big issue. And I just thought it was great that he kept hammering in on the illegal immigrants and how they have filtered in. I mean, it's not just a national issue anymore. It's a state and local issue.
Absolutely.
And we all have to be mirroring the image of what the state of Texas did for their legislation, the Attorney General. And it's, if we don't do something about it, Joe's not doing anything about it.
Speaking of this, just so you guys know, Biden's refusing to drop out. And by that, I mean Jill.
Right.
Jill is refusing to drop out.
It's
so
Dr. Jill.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I'm sure if I gave enough money to a university, they could give me an honorary doctorate as well.
In that rally, that was where she just got done congratulating for, you did a great job. You answered every question.
You did a good job.
That's
now
what
you
she
can
said.
get some ice cream, Joey.
You answered every question.
Good job.
And you
Wow.
can pick your flavor too.
You can pick your flavor. All right. So what are some highlights of that for you? Or highlights, lowlights? Where do you want to start with the debate, breaking it down?
I think the highlights did you notice this was probably one of the best debates that Trump ever did?
Oh, absolutely.
He kept his composure. There was one time I knew I could see his face, and he just went and did that smile across.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, here we go.
He was in command of
But he
himself
was
the entire time.
He was. And even CNN said that he won that night. I mean, but how could you not win against this guy? They said 67% of the viewers say that.
Yeah.
If you said that Biden won that night, then there's something wrong. There's something wrong there.
Yeah. Must be Federer.
I don't understand how you could say that Biden won, because what sentence did he actually say that was coherent enough, and what public policy did he put out there that was actually benefiting us as a nation?
You know, there's so much right now that even people who are asleep are awake enough to know that gas prices are higher, food prices are higher, rent prices are higher, home mortgages are higher. Everything across the board is quadrupled. We saw one on what was it on Twitch or Twitter? X.
It first came out, the guy who did his grocery list on
it was $120 from 2 years ago.
I might drop that in a break if we do one.
Yeah, $120 from 2 years ago. The same exact grocery list. His cart. It popped up from Walmart and said, "Would you like to reorder this exact list?"
Right.
460.
400. Yeah, it was like
460 something.
I believe it.
From 120.
Well, look at this.
In 2 years.
Look at when Trump was in at the grocery stores, just in our grocery stores.
Yeah.
Remember, you could get eggs for 99 cents.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How much are eggs sometimes? $4 to $6.
$6, yeah.
Right.
Good ones.
So statistics have shown that it's rose 6 times the amount.
Yeah.
I mean, when I talk to these people in our just around the area in Howell, Fowlerville areas, Pinckney areas, it's just amazing to me. That is the biggest thing about affordability. And it goes across the nation.
Yep.
Affordability is their number one thing. And he's not doing anything about that.
No.
Stuff you see, everyone sees this every day.
Mhm.
It's not an abstract issue. It's one that hits right at home every time we're in the store.
Yeah.
Every time we're at the gas pump. I'm tired of $3.85 gas.
Right.
I didn't even like $2 gas. Now I'll take it.
Well, and that's my point is the people that are watching this, they're finally figuring it out. The gaffes, the bumbles, the stumbles, but the reality is it's hitting them in their pocketbook.
Right.
And there was such a dynamic contradiction between the Trump presidency, even with the pandemic, fake, shutdowns, all that garbage, and when we were roaring, and what we've endured with the former vice president's administration.
So what I tell people is that they ask me if I like Trump,
Mm-hmm.
and if anybody knows me, I like Trump. I love Trump. I invited him to our wedding.
Oh, that would have been sweet.
Yeah, I mean, I invited him every single week. And we did get a card from Melania and Trump.
Oh, nice.
Yes, and we included that in part of our wedding.
Okay.
But I was trying every single week. I'd write him a little note, a personal note about who was going to be there. And I said, shoot, I didn't even let you have an open mic if you want it, And Deanna
That would be wonderful. I would love to do it.
I said, it'll be huge.
That'd be huge.
I should give away the bride.
Can I walk the bride down?
And, I would allow, he would have had to
compete with your dad.
Yeah, because that's my dad's thing. I would take that. But I was going to leave the altar just a little bit, honey. I'm sorry about that because I did want to, talk to Trump and make sure that he had a few things to say. I would have came back, though.
Don't tell him I was a cruise person in 2016.
I certainly won't. I
did vote for him in general, and I voted in primary sense.
I will
She was
say
Trump at the beginning.
Yeah, I was. 2016, I knew we needed a businessman. But one of the things is that I think that people, they don't like how he talks, right? And I'm like, it's okay if you don't like how he talks. Do you like the results?
I was talking with my neighbor, and he's like, I love all of his policies. I go, then stop right there. Realize if you love all of his policies, then it takes that personality and that person to bring those policies to bear the way he did.
Exactly.
And you can't separate the two.
And here's another example. So I'm pretty blunt and to the point when I'm doing my lawyer thing, right?
What?
Yeah, I am.
Say it isn't so, counselor.
I can't. So I will say this. I get referrals, and some of the referrals, it's funny. They come into my office and they say this. They're like, yeah, they told me that you're not going to like everything she says. And sometimes you're going to be like, man, I can't stand her. But you wait, you get the results that you need, and you will love her at the end. And you know what? That's exactly what Trump's all about.
Exactly.
You might not like all the time what he has to say, but you get the results at the end, don't you?
Exactly. And that's the point.
And that's what I tell people.
But going back to what you said, he was extremely disciplined in this, and it was the best debate he's done up to that I've ever seen.
It
Phenomenal.
was.
He watched his time. He watched his time. He quit when he needed to. He didn't try to overtalk. He didn't try to interrupt.
He learned from one of the debates from 4 years ago.
True, but he also didn't want to beat up the kid from the short bus.
Right.
On live TV.
What would have made the debate better? What would have made the debate better is if there was actually a worthy opponent.
Actually, a what?
Oh, an actual worthy opponent.
An actual worthy opponent.
That's true.
Yeah.
He would have just done even that much better.
But did you notice that Trump did not cuss like Biden did?
True.
Yeah.
Here's our national president, right? Supposed to be.
Right.
Kids are watching this.
Right.
You're supposed to be a what? A good example to all of us.
All right.
I mean, I guess they have some issues there because, look, Bill was not a great example in the Oval Office either. And then, then you have Joe here cussing during a debate. There's no reason for a cussing. There are several different people that are watching it, and you have a young age that's watching it. And I'll tell you what, some of these 14-year-olds and 15-year-olds, they're watching this, and they want to see what this presidency is all about. They want to see this debate,
Right.
and there's no reason for that. All he has is a couple good cuss words that he says, and that you're a liar, you're a liar, you're a liar, and
Yeah, that's all he has.
yeah.
I have a couple good cuss words, but I
If
try to
anyone
use
had
them
reason to
appropriately.
cuss during that debate, it was Trump.
Yeah.
I can hear me easily going, I'll edit this for my wife here.
I could have heard a couple WTFs just looking over him going, what did you just say?
What the foxtrot is he saying here? I don't understand this. Can you
You're being
understand
careful
it?
because of me today.
No, can't. Believe me. You can't understand it either.
We didn't even put the F-bomb on the table, so you're safe. I don't even know where it's. Oh, it's hanging on the packet there.
I actually missed anything Biden said. I don't know. Did he drop some bullshits or something? I'm desensitized. I work for Jeremy, so I didn't even
This is
catch
true.
the cuss words. So
What was he just saying? What the hell? Or
I can't remember. I think he did say bullshit.
Well, he did
once.
say what the hell and something else. I can't
He never
remember.
dropped an
What
That's
F-bomb.
not that
for sure.
bad.
but
No.
still, though, I mean, there's a lot of people that don't even say that word. You know, for instance, my mom.
right?
She was. I couldn't figure out what swear word she was talking about. She goes, it's the opposite of heaven.
Oh,
hell.
You're like,
yes.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
HE double hockey stick.
Well,
My grandmother said that.
Yeah.
Like that.
I know. That comes from my Duluth aunts and uncles. Yeah.
but still, though, there isn't a reason for you to swear because you're supposed to be a good example and you're supposed to be our leader of our country. But he's no leader for us.
No, well, and that's
And even the Democrats figured that out because they wouldn't have been calling everybody, hey, we got to get rid of him. We got to do something now. We can't go and have this fundraiser. No.
I think this was a setup.
I
really.
agree
That
with
was
you.
going to be my next question.
yeah.
After the third or fourth question, where the commentator said, "Mr. President, you have 47 seconds left. Would you like to add something else?" And then he said something about a different topic. Mr. President, you have 86 seconds left.
I just
You can't fill 2 minutes on
something.
the three biggest topics
you
you're
know,
supposed to hit: abortion.
If you attack
Yeah,
us,
couldn't do
one
it.
of our allies, we're going to attack
Couldn't do it.
Yeah.
What?
Well, and the thing of it is, it's like, why is it? And I thought President Trump did a very good job when they were trying to go after him on the January 6th.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I also thought it was great when he said, and Nancy Pelosi admits it,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, and her daughter even put it on there. Right. And I thought that was great.
Dude, this release of the footage is just destroying them.
Well, if you
It's-
think about
it's-
it, go back to that time period.
Yeah.
Where was Nancy Pelosi at underneath her desk? We need some help. And
Right.
she doesn't even look like she's scared. Now, if that was happening really for
For real.
us to see that, wouldn't she be like the fear in your face? There was no fear in her face. There was nothing. She was calm as can be.
Why
And
did she have a
so-
whole film crew there? Her daughter's whole film crew there.
Right.
If you have Ray Epps going out, running his trap about going to the Capitol, go inside
We
the
got to go
Capitol,
into the Capitol.
and we have people like Ray Epps out there, you need the guard there to dissuade people that are the idiots that are influenced by Ray Epps.
I thought Trump asked them
go
if they
in.
wanted 20,000.
20,000 troops, 20,000,
He asked
National.
Pelosi, and he also asked the mayor.
the National Guard.
Or did the mayor ask Pelosi?
No, he asked the mayor, and he also asked
Pelosi.
Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah.
And he got a
multiple times.
letter from the mayor that
Say-
said no.
Yeah.
No.
They both turned him down.
Right. They both turned him down.
And then said
So-
it got out of control.
so-
Okay, dumbass.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. And the thing of it is he did state on there. I did state to them, and I also talked to him. It was one of I think he said it was a great speech that I did. It was basically saying, he always says that it's a great.
It was a great speech. You were there. You
It
heard
was
me.
huge.
It was huge.
It was great.
It's tremendous. Believe me.
But what I'm saying though is that this could have all been not even there, and
Yeah.
it's just amazing to me. And then it was funny to see Biden with his face. He just turns around with this somber face, like, "What are we talking about now?" And just like
Dude. And he kept touching his ear because he's listening to an earpiece.
his facial expression. Well, remember when Hillary and Trump remember that old Saturday Night Live with Trump, and it goes da 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 da, like the shark, right?
Yeah.
And he goes boo like that to Hillary. Remember
Okay.
that? Well, I was thinking about that, but she had an earpiece in her ear. I mean, they were telling her the questions. Remember that?
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, they must be telling him the questions or at least telling him the answers, but they're certainly not coming out right. At first, some of the answers were coming out, but then he's like, well, I think I'll put a little spin on this and maybe this sounds a little bit better, but it didn't, because I mean, whatever he adds, it's somewhere else.
He'd have been better off just
listening to the
just
earpiece.
listening to the earpiece.
If that's what he had.
I mean, he should take a lesson from Christopher Walken. You know, Christopher Walken is notorious. He would never memorize the lines. He would have an earpiece and just have them read to him.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and his parents were immigrants, and so they talked the way that he talks. His cadence is from them learning to speak English as immigrants here in this country.
I did not know that.
So those two factors, he would just have. They would tell him the lines, and he'd go, "So, got to tell you the way it is, my friend." You know, that was his cadence. That's a double idea. The cadence, learning from his parents, learning from that, and then just
Somebody
basically
feeding him his lines,
2
words at a time.
And he said, you know, they claim I'm an actor. He says, I never act. He said, I'm just me in every movie, just repeating the lines.
It's Alexia Pelosi. Alexandria Pelosi. Her youngest daughter was
the one filming?
At the Capitol just to document the transition of the election.
Yeah, whatever.
You think she was planted? I don't know.
Yeah, I think she was planted. But you're right. If he would have just stayed on script and just repeated it.
But it's HBO. HBO has her series that's going to be coming.
Right.
And I don't know about you, but I am so tired. Okay, so in Michigan here, I'm so tired of the abortion question.
Right.
I am pro-life. I believe in concept at the date of conception, right?
Right.
Endorsed, by the way.
And endorsed, by Right to Life.
Absolutely.
When I was a congressional candidate. The point that I'm trying to make is that why is it that we are going back to this? Well, I'll tell you why it is. They're hammering him again about the Roe versus Wade.
Right.
Do you know that most people don't understand this? If you look back in time, they didn't get rid of abortion. What they said is it shouldn't be there. It should be a federal,
Correct.
right? Justice Ginsburg, who was the most liberal judge, in fact, one thing she did do well for women is because women lawyers were not, they're supposed to stand behind a man, right? And you stand behind your man, Well, one thing she did do well is, and maybe not so well anymore because some men might think it's a little different, but she allowed women to get their credit cards, to have credit on their name because that wasn't there before, right?
Right.
So, but she went a little off because she wasn't talking about, she is so against, life for the baby, but she even stated this. She stated that it should go to the states, right? The Roe versus Wade. And that was back in the day. And did you know when she was saying that was leaked out there too? Did you know that?
I think it was.
Yeah. So, I mean, what I'm trying to say is why aren't these Democrats and people who are pro-choice understand that this was actually Justice Ginsburg? She wanted this, and if she was alive, and maybe we could ask her this question: did you actually state this? Because that was one of her things. She wanted to go back to the states because that would be a state issue, and that was because it was for the people's choice, just like what Trump said. Now it might be.
No, I love that he clarified that and
I did too.
Kept coming back and hammering it and saying, look, well, first and foremost, too, the biggest problem with Roe v. Wade, it was never a legislative branch. It was never, what do you say? It was never legislated.
From the federal.
From the federal.
Right.
It was brought about by a court case, and the lady who they propped up to do that has since come out on record that she was used.
Was
she's
pro-life before she passed away.
Yeah. And then they kept hammering it being in the federal, and Trump was exactly right to come out and say, look, no, this puts it back in the hands of the state who are actually passing laws for right or wrong. And you can choose what state you want to live in according to the laws that you agree with.
Right.
Perfect.
And if it was a federal issue, let's think about this. Did we hear life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness?
Right.
Did we forget about that? Coming up, we have Independence Day.
Yeah.
Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Where does abortion fit in that?
Well, it's my life, my sexual liberty, in the pursuit of my happiness as the woman. That's where that
Yeah, no, it's a ritual.
Yeah.
Usually a satanic ritual, and it is also a form of birth control. And I've stopped too many people in their tracks when they go, "Oh, I believe in abortion." So you can't put on a condom, you can't take the pill, you can't do other things. So you're using it as because every time they
Take
say
birth control.
every time that they say rape and incest, I go the 0.03%.
Yeah,
Rape and incest,
not the
0.03%.
overwhelming percentage.
And then you've got the former governor of Virginia sitting there saying, "Well, if we'll have the baby will be delivered, and we'll keep the baby alive, and then we'll
set it aside.
go and
We'll
talk
set
with
it
the mother,
aside.
and we'll see what the decision is to make."
Yeah. So
That's
we're gonna be like,
infanticide, and you're. I have strong language for that.
yeah. Well, there were countries that but we won't go there right now.
Yes.
But with that being said, so it's being the choice of the states, and now there's a lot of states, and the Democrats don't like this because a lot of states are saying, "Hey, we're pro-life. We're not going to have this." But then our great state, what people don't understand is with proposal.
It was Prop 3.
Yeah, Prop 3
last cycle.
Yeah, Prop 3. We didn't
Terrible.
educate the voters a lot on this because, that was not just about abortion. That wasn't just about Roe versus Wade. That was about actually educating the children too about the sexual change and things of that nature too as well.
Yep.
That was one of the worst campaigns, the ones against Prop 3 I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
My next door neighbor at the time, it's not super political, but he's pro-life.
Okay.
And he ended up covering up the sign that said "too confusing, too extreme." Because, all right, what does that mean?
Right.
Too confusing?
And
So
then-
he put "too deceptive, too extreme." And he's a lot better campaign message than the whoever the idiot consultants were behind that.
And I don't know if you saw on the TV, but we had prosecutors down in Wayne County over in their area. And I think there was one, I'm not mistaken, I don't want to say this, but I know there was 2 prosecutors that were on TV doing the commercial that was basically saying, no, this isn't about, transgender or anything. This is about, just about abortion at all. This is the only issue here. That's not it. And I was explaining to some of our clients that were coming in about that because they asked me questions, and who am I not to give them an answer, right? So I give them my opinion, and I explain to them, about the language and things of that nature. And they're like, well, if that's the case, I still want to have, my rights as a parent.
Yeah, that was a huge part of it, was that minors could go to school administrators or
right.
other
And we
people
didn't educate them. And where was our state representative at the time, like trying to have that educated? I didn't see him do anything about that. Did you?
Nope.
I mean, I saw other people doing that, but I would think that our state representative would have got some people to educate all of us and make sure that that was known in this county.
Isn't that the dual part of the job of a representative is not just to go and be there on the floor and vote for things.
Sometimes.
And be fully educated on what they're voting on to the best of their ability, because sometimes they hand you a bill and say you can read it later, Nancy Pelosi. But then also to come back to the constituents and hold town halls, hold fireside chats, hold whatever the form or function is, come back and say, hey, let me tell you what's going on this past month.
They're absolutely right. And who I see a lot do that is Representative Bolin. Ann Bolin. She has a lot of different coffee hours. I've seen, I believe it was, she's having one coming up. I can't give you the date of it, but it's on her Facebook page. But she does a great job on that. I believe Lana Tice does that too. But I've never seen our state representative
Jennifer
here.
Conlon even sometimes comes to our county. I'll give her credit for that.
Right.
I don't agree with her.
But what we need to do is we need to make sure that whoever's there, they're a public servant.
Right.
So if I were to be elected, I'm your public servant. I put my pants on one leg at a time, just like you do. I'm nothing special. I come to you. Hey, Jeremy, here's what's going on. And
I already call you guys.
True.
Or you call me and I go, hey, what's up with that?
Right.
In fact, you're sitting here tonight. I was like, what do you want? You're like, let's talk about this. Let's talk about that. Okay. Let's do our best to inform the people because we're studying this out, taking a look at it.
Right.
Yeah. I actually have a swing set in front of my dresser.
But going back to
for pants. I know, but I wanted to ask. You're going to go back to something, but I wanted to ask if you would do this for us. For those who have not seen you on this podcast or show, could you give us the A to Z of who you are and who you're running for? New listeners, new viewers, what you're running for, and then because you're talking about the job that you were going to do, and I want to make sure that the viewers know what they're looking at.
And Studerbaker's pointing it out. He's like, "Oh, I figured it out. It's Kristina Lyke and her husband."
Correct. So we take for granted that we have informative viewers.
Ding, ding, ding.
So,
yes, and Brandon is a puppet. So go ahead, Kristina. Tell us what's going on.
Thank you. Well, I can. Well, first of all, I'm Kristina Lyke. I am actually an attorney. I'm a constitutional attorney, family law attorney, and criminal defense attorney. I'm a small businesswoman. I actually I gave a promise to God when I passed the bar that I would help the veterans and I would help the Christians. And I've done a lot of pro bono cases for our veterans, and I've given several discounts to military families. But I've even had bombs flown in my honor by one of my veterans. I've gotten almost hit in the face in the middle of court for a veteran, and I would get hit any time for that veteran.
Wow.
It came this close. It was two men,
yeah,
and I got right in the middle of it, and it grazed my face.
I'll take a punch for the vets.
I will. Yeah. And I have actually taken a punch before for a client. I have, hired bodyguards for individuals because the fact is that I want them, especially domestic violence victims, I make sure that they are taken care of, because when I'm arguing their case, I can't always watch. And I want to make sure that they are taken care of and they are walked out to their car. Sometimes and it's men and women that I walk out to the car.
Yeah, because until you get a verdict or some type of judgment coming down from the bench,
you never know.
They're vulnerable.
They're always vulnerable. And, whether it be a PPO or anything of that nature, motion, divorces, custody law. But, I'm really, it's so exciting to get somebody's gun rights back. I've done that quite a few times.
That's awesome.
I'm the only candidate that's actually gotten gun rights back for individuals, for law-abiding citizens. And, I'm the only one that actually was asked to testify against the red flag laws, which is called the Extreme Protection Act. And I was honored to do that. In fact, it wasn't my state representative who asked me. It was actually a senator. Go ahead.
It was, should I say who?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's one of my clients and a good friend of many in our county, Senator Jim Runstead.
We like Jim.
He's
got a
great guy.
We need more Runsteads in the Senate.
Yeah.
And not only that, I don't know if you're aware of this, but sometimes people call me up who are actually state legislatures or, trustees or, even senators. They call me up and ask me, "Hey, is this constitutional? Can we do this?"
Right.
And so I'll look it up. I've done a lot of good things over the years for our veterans, and done a lot of good things for our community too. I was one of the ones that during the time period that vaccinations, we were mandated vaccinations. And I look at it this way. I don't know about you, but I don't like being told what to do.
Exactly.
Maybe it's a flaw in my life, but I don't like being told what to do.
Well, going back to the abortion issue, they railed on this for the last, since Roe v. Wade, 71, I think it was. They railed on that for 50 years about my body, my choice, my body, my choice. And then in comes this pandemic garbage. And all of a sudden, now it's not my body, my choice to jab me in the arm. You're talking about removing a baby from a womb, and you're going to stand on that. And then on a simple thing like not getting a jab in my arm, you're going to say it's completely flipped. Come on.
And the problem is I'm not a medical doctor or anything, but when I was back in that time in 2020, I was actually doing research for my clients and for other individuals outside of the United States to see what was going on over there.
Wow.
Right.
Because I wasn't sure, the news here just didn't seem like it was just saying, even on cartoons, get your jab, get your vaccination.
Yeah, night shows. Yeah.
And like I said, it's your choice. And if you do the research, it's your choice to do that. But here's the problem I had was college students. I thought, my goodness, they have to go and do this when they don't agree with it. It's against their First Amendment.
Yep.
And so I thought, you know what? I'm going to do this pro bono for them. So every single case I won and got their First Amendment exemption, except for 2. And I asked them if I could appeal it. They said no. We're just gonna let it ride. We're just gonna keep going like this.
Okay.
But the thing of it is would I do that again for an individual? Yes, because college students, they stood on their principle. How many kids do you know that stand on their principle? And if you're going to stand up to somebody like that, a bully,
Yeah,
I don't like bullies.
I don't either.
And that's why you got to make sure that you have somebody as running as a state representative that is going to defend their Constitution, defend our Constitution, but also make sure that they defend against the bullies, outside interests that are coming inside our county.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's
So-
what we need. We need defenders. So you are running for the 50th district here, covers most of Livingston County.
Most of northern Livingston County and western Livingston County, along with Howell and Howell Township, Marion Township too.
Okay. I hate the way that they
cut it.
cut it all up. It's so ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just had to work with the district map doing some campaigning.
It's just not
Canvassing
logical.
for the
It should be
school board.
basically county by
It's
county.
ridiculous. Yeah.
Whatever your district is should basically be the county.
Well, we have a pretty
Yeah.
big county, though.
True, but okay, maybe divide in half. But I know what's the south one here is half Washtenaw, half Livingston.
I call that the middle finger district because that's what it
Yeah.
looks like. It's a middle finger to the voters of Genoa Township, where I lived for 33 years.
Mhm.
And then the other district that looks funny, Ann Boland's district, looks like somebody's smoking a pipe in Oakland County.
Smoking a pipe?
I know this is a little off
Purple
topic,
lips.
but
Give it to me.
I'm going to say this. Why is it? So we were marching in the Pinckney Parade. I'm originally from Pinckney.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
I'm a Pinckney pirate. I'm
Got that pirate vibe.
I do. And now I live in Fowlerville, and I'm proud of both of my areas that I live in. But I got the roots from my morals from Livingston County. And my dad always said, a handshake is always your integrity. If you say you're going to do something, Kristina, you do it.
Right.
And you keep trying until you do it.
Yep.
So, and my mom and dad taught me the work values that I have, and you never lie. And I cannot stand people who try to deceive our district or try to tell them that they're somewhere, they're
Where
someone
they're
else
not.
than what they're not, what they are.
Yep.
But in any case, when we were talking about this district and the cutting of it, when I was in Pinckney marching in that parade, I saw this big old float of Biden behind us. And it was all these Democrats. Never in the years that I lived in Pinckney was there that big old float and all those volunteers. Now I say everyone, all the Republicans, get out there and make sure if you're independent, look at your rights. Look at what is going on here in America. Look at what's going on in the state of Michigan. Look at the establishment clause that they're chipping away each time that they go and pass this legislation that is against us.
Yeah.
It's not just for the minute few that they're supposed to be taking care of. They're supposed to be looking at the majority and all of us, representing all of us.
Exactly.
So everyone get out there for the Independence Day parade and show your support for the Republicans and walk those parades and get out there and make sure our parades are bigger than what the Democrats put in there. Show some support.
Absolutely. We got to be in the I drove in the Brighton parade last year.
Did you?
With the Republican Party. Yeah. That was awesome.
I was there for that one.
And a lot of people, they want to, have barbecues and things of that nature. That's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? Family is the most important thing.
Exactly.
God, family, and country, right?
Yeah.
But the thing of it is, if we don't have God and we don't have our country, we don't have family.
Right. It's hard to exist in those
Faith,
environments.
family, freedom.
Exactly. And it's not off topic because I'm about a conversation. So the rest of it, whatever the agenda is it'll work itself out.
All right.
Yeah. So I wanted to point this one out. This is another dynamic of what happened.
What was that? That was what am I missing?
Here we go. So this is what actually happened during the debate.
That's a
4.
Yeah, and you notice how they asked about Trump's age and they asked about Biden
Yeah.
and how Trump said he took a physical twice.
Yeah.
And
he was
talking
cleared.
about, and then talking about his golf. And then Biden's like, oh, yeah.
I got a 5 handicap.
Yeah.
No, you don't.
Really?
No. He said, well, first he said 6, and then he said 9.
Yeah.
It's not stopping him.
Is that guy capable these days of swinging a flipping club?
No, he's not. That's hilarious. I saw that one. I just keep going over that one. I'm like,
So good.
oh, that's hilarious.
There's a number of, I know it's a little vulgar, but there's a number of guys that do these videos online where, there's impacts. They call them F-whacks, or whack. What was the other way? Whack fucks. The whack. Where they hit. It's hilarious. That is.
Yeah. In fact, I think I'm on the right page over here. I'm going to cut back to this one. Oh, I want you.
Guess my handicap.
Guess my handicap. Speech, memory, walking, riding a bike, counting, dressing yourself.
That's good. Classic.
And then you see the old howdy doody over here. I guess that's slightly off your guys' screen. Here, I'll pull it over.
Over to the right. Yeah.
There you go.
He did. He had that one creepy face. Was like, I was a little concerned that it was going to stick that way.
Old Dementia Joe. Don't you know? Unbelievable. All right, so let's break down some of this, and then I know we got some other stuff that we want to cover. We're about an hour in.
What would you talk to? You want us to talk about the debate a little bit more?
Yeah, let's talk about what are some highlights of the debate, some things that you saw that you want to break down a little bit of.
I've been talking a lot. Would you like to?
I think the main thing is, I mentioned before, I think this is a bit of a setup here. They're trying to, make a switcheroo at convention.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked if Biden gets Clinton sided.
Really?
Right. Well,
He's gonna
how do you get him out?
You think?
One of our friends sent me a text yesterday. Was it yesterday? That, I'm going to read it to you. Our friend.
Oh, yes.
Developing, this is just, it was Don Luker on X. Developing Michelle Obama's photo is now being printed in Michigan voter registration papers. This is fairly strange since Michelle, Big Mike, isn't officially running for office. But yeah, there's literally, you can see the envelope.
Yeah.
Has Michelle Obama's face on it. Or her.
Everything I've heard in Michelle Obama's case is a pipe dream for the Dems.
Yeah.
Because I've heard, I might be wrong, but I've heard she doesn't want the job.
That
and
is
I wouldn't
the word.
blame her.
But the Roger Stone has come out and pontificated for the better part of a year and a half that she doesn't want the job, but she's going to be drafted, and that will make her that much more sympathetic.
I don't see that's going to happen.
Roger Stone.
I think it's really going to be Newsom, because think about it this way: Newsom and Whitmer, and I do have a source. I did find out. I won't say who the source is because I like to protect the individuals, but it's a good source.
Mm-hmm.
Her father said that Gretchen was getting ready for the vice presidency.
Oh yeah,
and this was just in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, well, she wanted the vice presidency the last turnaround. That's why there was a.
Well, think about it. Why do you think
kidnapping.
that she allowed $500 for? And I'm going to say this: you're crossing the border illegally. You're criminal. So then she wants us to aid and abet them, and we're going to get $500 for aiding and abetting.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not going to get charged for that, are we? Because that's her law.
Not if you get paid. Yeah.
And then she's going to give $8 million, or she already did, to legal counsel for illegal immigrants. Well, why do you think? And she got kind of really harassed about that $500 thing.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't stop it, because the thing of it is, that's what she thinks that everybody wants out there.
Yep.
It's not what everybody wants. There's a lot of independents and Democrats who don't want that.
Correct.
They want their children to be safe and secure. They want their elderly to be safe and secure.
Yeah.
And they want to make sure that they have an economy.
So speaking of this, so it was pretty much a setup. And the interesting thing is now they're searching pretty heavily for the next Democratic presidential candidate. I don't know if they're looking in the right places, but there definitely is a search on for the next Democrat presidential candidate. I mean, they're going high, low, and in every nook and cranny.
Is that the ass
That's
end of
one
an
way to
elephant?
put it.
I mean, you're telling me that they're looking at what the Republican Party is shitting out?
Yes.
Hey,
Yes.
What's the ass end of this Republican Party got that we can?
Yes.
To a Democrat?
So just so you guys know, I get a bunch of my memes from Mr. Coffee's page.
Of course, that's very coffee-esque.
But he does have a lot of people that post on there. So you think it was a setup? What are some of the things that really torpedoed that whole dynamic?
The two things I mentioned is one, this was allowed on CNN.
Yes.
CNN they've been protecting the Dems for years. They hate Trump.
Yeah.
They want everything to make Trump look bad.
Yeah.
But they basically conceded this debate. The other thing I noticed is when they had the interviews afterward on Channel 7, he had Republican reactions. Larry was on there,
Our
too.
own Larry was on there.
And then they had
He did a good job.
He did a good job.
And then Democrat reaction to it was they were not really defending Biden all that much.
No. How could you? I love the montages. Did you see the montages where they had CNN anchors 2 weeks ago and the night of the debate completely flip-flopping? He's the best. He's the great. He's this. He's on point. He's on this. He's on that. Yeah, he didn't look good tonight. It was pretty bad. We're gonna have to do. I mean, it was a complete.
This isn't the guy who
I did say that. I did see that.
Yeah.
This isn't the guy who embarrassed Paul Ryan back in 2012.
No. This is a. The comments were made that he was looked so puffy.
I did like how Trump called him out for his racism years ago.
Oh, absolutely.
Because people don't remember that.
Super predator comment.
Super predator.
Not only that,
I remember that.
remember the one video? He's like, we already got a N-word mayor. We don't need another N-word mayor, another N-word person coming in here. I mean,
Or how about, well, you're going to vote for me. Well, why am I going to vote for you? Because you're black.
right?
What?
Yeah.
You don't vote for me, you're not black.
I love it
just
when
thought,
black guys get
wow.
on there and do little videos and they go, really?
Yeah.
Listen, I ain't voting for you, and they just go off. I won't repeat everything.
Yeah,
It's just awful.
Nigerians for Trump.
All right, so give me a couple more highlights on the debate. You got some notes.
Well, Dan, you were saying that, do you think they actually put Biden out there waiting for the disaster to happen?
You have a bunch of super delegates at convention.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And this is before the Democrat National Convention.
The fact that they pushed for this debate to happen through CNN was part of the plan to expect a failure, is what I'm saying.
I don't know if I go that far. I think
Okay.
the fact there's on any network
Sure.
with national exposure,
Right.
but this is one of the earliest general election debates we've ever had.
Ever. Yes.
If not the earliest.
Usually they don't have any of them before both conventions actually happen.
yeah.
And we have both conventions going on.
Yeah.
Next,
Strange.
I call it 2 weeks, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I can't make it.
Right.
You have the RNC convention.
Right. Which they're trying to throw Trump in jail for, so he can't even be at.
That's our next topic.
Well, and the thing that is, though, going back to that night, what was the other question? How come they didn't go and hammer Biden on, you signed this executive order?
Mhm.
Why did you sign that executive order to allow all the illegal immigrants to come in?
Why are
Why?
you on record saying, once I'm elected, immediately surge the border?
No,
Yeah.
And here's all the promises he made about the Medicare and the Social Security and how Trump is going to just deplete everything. Well, I'm sorry, but aren't we still watching the same presidency? What have you done?
Right.
All you're doing is depleting our resources and actually giving it away to other countries.
Right.
And
Aren't we
not
up to
doing,
200 billion being sent to between
You put
Ukraine
the-
and Israel?
You put the Green New Deal here,
Yeah.
and then you take the money and send it to Ukraine.
Yeah.
Where Hunter Biden worked.
and I loved how Trump said this.
Burisma.
Hey, I do want clean air. Everybody
yeah,
wants
he was
clean
great
air,
on that. He
right?
was great on that.
Everybody
Yeah.
wants clean air, clean water.
Yep.
But the thing of it is, I don't know if you remember, like back in the day, well, in 2020 when he was debating, he talked about the windmills and how they were killing the birds too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But one thing that people don't touch on is with these windmills are, and I was talking to my law clerk the other day about this because we talk a little bit about politics and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried to get their input. And I said, he goes, have you ever seen one actually working on 127? And he's like, I haven't, but I have seen one on fire. And that's pretty cool to see.
They're such a scam, a debacle.
But the thing of it is, though, think about it this way. When you have those windmills and they are being mandated now, right?
Yep.
That's ridiculous.
Kristina,
What?
wind turbines. I don't want someone else to lambaste.
Yes,
you.
turbines. Sorry, excuse me.
They use
Turbines.
600 gallons of oil.
Insane. Yeah.
Well, and the thing of it is, what's going to happen to our environment then?
Yeah.
They can't dispose of the blades once they're done.
Nope.
No.
They're made of
not
carbon fiber and a whole bunch of toxic
Can't
things.
recycle them. No.
There's no
Thank you
recycling.
for correcting me on that.
You're welcome. Before some leftist does.
Wind
Yes.
turbines. She said windmill.
Windmills. You don't know.
I don't know.
Windmills. It's
I
not-
do need to make an official announcement on the show tonight. Trump has been indicted again. This time for murdering an elderly man on CNN this past Thursday. So
did he murder someone on CNN?
yes, there was another.
I don't remember that happening. Was
Go
that,
ahead and pull that up.
There it is.
Yeah, Trump indicted for
right.
murdering elderly man on
That's
CNN.
unfortunate.
That is gallows humor. That is a joke, everybody.
But how do you
Calm
murder
down.
a zombie?
Right. Someone
in
who's
the head.
already a walking dead.
Which we already know that they had to take the top. Do we have that clip? They had to take the top.
No, I don't think he
And
has.
I
it.
had these terrible headaches. Was diagnosed with having anyway. They had to take the top of my head off a couple times, see if I had a brain.
I think they took part of it out the last time that happened. So.
I saw Trump have to pivot. The hardest part for him was to try to utilize what debacle he was watching in front of him.
Yeah.
The quickest. That was his biggest challenge was, okay, how do I use the fact that he is just not here? And he had to respond. Let me go back. Okay, quickly, let me go back to this. Let me finish up. He had said this, and
right.
there was those 3, 4, 5 questions where he would answer what Biden said instead of answering the question.
Yes.
Yeah, he ended up getting lambasted for that later about avoiding questions, and then when the question was re-asked about Jan 6 or whatever it was,
right,
he quickly answered that and just moved on.
Yeah, he was off.
Yeah,
he was you nailed it. I think that's a consensus all the way around. He was so poised and so focused, and I think he had to be because it would come off, beating up the kid with mental disability if he'd have went after him. This is from the New York Post, not a right-leaning rag by
Just
any sense of it. President mumbles, stumbles, freezes in train wreck debate versus Trump. And I apologize. I apologize for the other pictures down here. Some of these other pictures are not of my choosing.
Feeds,
those are some of our other people. Anyway, so there. That's good. That's good. This is what happens when it's cold outside and you are.
We don't have that problem right now.
No, but when you're out using the chainsaw and it's cold outside. And moving on.
Out of nowhere.
Anyways.
Well, the other thing that I saw in the debate too is that I knew it was coming, didn't you, about his criminal trial?
Oh yeah.
Over in New York.
Right.
And they had to ask him about that. And here's me. I'm thinking, say anything. I won't say anything because I don't ever want my clients ever to say something about something like that's especially pending, no matter what, because that's your Fifth Amendment right.
Exactly.
But
I thought
he did a pretty good job on that too as well.
Are you surprised?
No, I am not surprised at all.
No, I was going to ask, are you surprised that Biden wasn't trained and schooled well enough to hammer the convicted felon Donald Trump I'm talking to over and over and over again? Are you surprised that didn't come out of his mouth over and over and over again,
Oh,
but
it
only once.
I was surprised that it did not
Me
come
too.
over, but I think
What?
the reason why
Two
it didn't
sides
go
of
over
that.
there,
Yeah.
because of the fact is he was going to hammer him on Hunter every single time. And not only that,
Oh,
think about it, his whole entire
True.
family,
true,
they're crooks.
true.
All
In
crooks.
fact, that's what Trump's counterpunch was.
And I
Talk
thought that
about
was
convicted
awesome.
film was
Yeah.
and then it goes right into the laptop. Yep. It's
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. Because now the laptop has been confirmed.
Yep.
And what about, how that when he talked about, what was it, $4 million that he received right after Christmas from China? Merry Christmas, Joe, something like that.
I don't remember that one, but you're
I
right.
think the one thing also, reason why it might not have been brought up is I'm not a polls believer, but many people are.
Mm-hmm.
And Trump, when he got charged with the bogus case,
Yeah.
especially the New York one, his numbers went up. It
Every
was
time
ra-
they've
it
attacked him.
it was rallying. Trump's getting attacked with lawfare. That could be us. That's what people were thinking.
Exactly.
And we see it here in Michigan, what Dana Nessel's doing.
Mhm.
And we start thinking, this could be us. So
You
let's
still got
circle the wagons.
Our legitimately impaneled alternate electors,
16.
16 of them facing prosecution from a corrupt DA.
And they're still at their
Attorney
preliminary
General.
exam station.
Yeah, we definitely supported them as we could. We did a nice
Yeah.
little telethon here and everything.
But
to make
that
sure there's
tells you
some
right. They
money
were,
raised for them. Yeah.
they were legally impaneled as alternates if the vote went. Both sides are responsible to impanel.
Well, what about Dana saying, can you believe those Trump people? They really think that Trump is the president.
There's
That is
intent.
the element of the crime.
There's intent. It's
Exactly.
not fraud.
It should be dismissed.
Dismiss.
Should be dismissed.
Right. It should be dismissed.
It should be dismissed. And if we had a honest judiciary across the board, it would be. I mean, we've got some pockets, but few and far in between throughout the country because George Soros has done his best to get DAs and
the
judges
and the incumbency rule here in Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
Well, some of the things, although I will say this, I have listened to certain, I haven't been able to listen to all the testimony and things of that nature, but just a little bit here and there. And you can't hear me?
No,
Oh.
you're fine.
Okay.
Tim's trying to talk to me. I'm not hearing him.
Oh, I've heard some of the testimony that during the preliminary examinations, and the judge hasn't decided yet. She's a newer judge.
Yeah.
We're just gonna have to pray that she makes the right decision. I mean, because we're at the preliminary examination stages,
Mhm.
and for those who don't know what a preliminary examination is, it's whether or not there's enough probable cause that is the defendant, probable cause that a crime has occurred, and probable cause that crime occurred here in Michigan. And probable cause is a low burden. It's more than reasonable cause. But the point is that a lot of times criminal defense attorneys like to run those too, because then we can quash them in circuit court.
Okay. Yeah.
And there's other reasons too as well. But, they're still at the stages at the preliminary examination. So we'll just have to keep on praying that things go well, and they have some good attorneys that are helping them, it looks like.
That's the key is, and we've had the Null brothers on here, William and Michael, and Eric Molitor came on via Skype or Zoom or whatever we used. And they were the three that were acquitted of all the kidnapping charges. A couple of the other ones were pressured into pleading guilty. I think a couple of the other ones are still fighting in trials, having retrials, stuff like that. But it's a debacle all the way around with that whole kidnapping garbage because it's all entrapment. You had more feds involved in the kidnapping plot than you had actual people. And from the William and Michael, they were just invited to a couple gun shows and a couple different things, and then asked if they wanted to go on a road trip up, and then they ended up outside of Whitmer's house up north, and they're like, oh, wouldn't it be cool? And they secretly recorded them, which I don't know if that's totally legal in our state. Are we two-person or are we one-person non-consent?
We're one person, but you have to have consent. So it is this. So if you and I are like talking to each other,
Yeah.
and there's case law that says this, if one person knows that they're being recorded,
Yeah,
then that's fine.
that's fine.
So if I know I'm recording, fine. But here's the problem with that. If you go outside the state, like let's say to Ohio or another state, then you're talking with interstate.
Which is what they did.
Well,
There was a road trip. Well, on the recording wasn't a road trip, but the road trip that they took up north, they recorded them. They took excerpts from the different parts, like the trip up and the trip down. They took audio from the opposite sides and made it seem like they were saying something on the way up that they didn't say, and saying it on the way back. And so to say that these guys were duped, I look at that the same way with Trump and a bunch of this other stuff. Is it could have been any one of us that are just, those two guys used to handle, Michael and William used to handle security, like the Proud Boys or some of these other groups that would do security for big events.
right. Well,
And they get vilified, they get tarnished by this.
I was talking to somebody that, he was telling me, he's like, I won't say who the person is again because of that. But I was talking to this person and he's like, shoot, I was at a 2A rally there.
Mm-hmm.
And it was during the trial. And I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of people that were there.
I got friends that were in the Capitol on Jan 6, one of my buddies. And he said, as soon as I saw him going in the barriers, I said, we're out of here. And they beelined for their vehicle and got out of town.
Smart move.
Because he says, that's whatever's going on over there. Because they were in the mall, that whole area. But when the police removed the barriers, not the people breaking into them, when the police removed the barriers, he said, there's something wrong here. And he got out of there.
Good.
But I mean, that's how easy, that's the difference between what is 1,200 people right now
For what?
that are January 6 people that are sitting in jail,
I don't know how many people.
or at least have been charged.
I love that question too that night that he's going to. And I thought Trump did a very good.
You can accept it.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's legal.
Yeah. I thought because of he goes, it's terrible how you treated them.
Right.
It's terrible how you treated those people. And some of those people, they shouldn't even be in jail.
No.
Like
You've got guys that were not even there.
right.
And the jurors come out and say, well, the lack of evidence is the evidence. What?
No, it's beyond a reasonable doubt. That's the reason why we have such a high burden.
Exactly.
It's not.
Supposed to.
I mean,
Which
the
one of
reason-
our founding fathers said that I would rather that 100 guilty go free than one innocent
I
be
don't know.
convicted?
I don't know. Which,
Franklin, I think I might be wrong.
I know that
Was it
quote,
Benjamin
though,
Franklin,
but
something like that? Yeah.
I know the quote, but I
Yeah.
can't remember who said it.
All right. So are we good with Trump? We want to move on to some other stuff, or is there any more on Trump?
I think
you
we're
got
pretty
the-
good.
I mean, not
Conviction.
Trump. The debate. Trump. Let's
Debate.
move to some of the court cases, because that's
Sure.
huge on people's mind.
Yeah.
That's one of the things they tried to hammer during the debate, or not hammer, but they went after it. You're a convicted felon now, 34 counts. Well, it was they had to
I'll start.
change the laws. They had to redo the statute of limitations. There's never been a time that a federal campaign violation
That's
has been
what I was
tried
gonna
in
get
state
to.
court. So go after that, Dan.
Well, you have the so-called predicate crime is a alleged, because there was no charge on this, the alleged campaign finance violation. Now, the first question is, if it existed, the hush money to Stormy Daniels, was that considered a campaign contribution from Michael Cohen to Stormy Daniels?
Yeah.
To affect, is that considered electioneering? That's
How is that even possible? I mean, we know it's trumped up in the first place, to use the phrase
Trump,
properly.
pun
But
intended.
Well, here's a question though I have to ask Dan. So Dan, I mean, didn't Hillary Clinton have from that dossier? Didn't she have a campaign finance? It was like around $8,000 that she had to pay, but she didn't get any criminal charges.
she paid $8,000 and walked away.
Right.
Obama
it
had
could be,
campaign shit that he had to pay money for.
It could be considered an expenditure, and there's a broad umbrella for it. Certain, if it's used for electioneering purposes, those are legal campaign expenditures. Possibly.
Yeah.
I mean, it depends.
Well, she had to pay that.
But in the case here, personal use is where if it's used for personal use, you can get dinged.
Yeah.
But It's a federal issue because it's a federal campaign.
Correct.
How does New York start this whole investigation off a federal campaign finance potential violation that would be an administrative matter? Usually, those things are usually handled through administrative agency.
Yep.
You screw it up, you pay a fine. That's usually how that goes. You pay a civil fine. There usually is not criminal charges.
True.
Unless there's fraud or if there's a railroading, sometimes that happens.
But this wasn't even in the campaign, was it? It was his private business.
It can be considered in kind, possibly. That's why I'm
And his
terrified.
own comptroller came out, is in the trial, and said, I received a bill from Cohen, marked it down as legal expenses, and made up a check, and Mr. Trump signed it.
You mean Cohen's Cohen's attorney, correct?
Cohen sent a bill to Trump. Trump's comptroller for the company
Oh, okay.
received the invoice from the lawyer from Cohen, marked it down as legal expense. He didn't have anything to do with it. Trump didn't have anything to do with what Cohen did with the money, other than the invoice.
Standards best efforts.
So let's back it up a little bit. So you and I, let's say that I'm your attorney, right?
Mhm.
You pay for me to give you legal advice,
Actually, you are my attorney.
right? And
her a
let's say,
You're on retainer now.
oh, not for any future crime. I can't take
Actually,
it.
we've already done this once before.
But if I was your attorney, and let's say I am your attorney,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
and I give you legal advice, and let's say that Judge Wholihan here goes and
Irish judges.
well, let's say he's a prosecutor. He wants to go and have me up on the stand. Do you know what I'm going to say? Attorney-client privilege.
Exactly.
That's what you should say.
And you know
Exactly.
why? Because of the fact you take that to the grave.
Because you got integrity.
Correct.
Cohen is disbarred, already spending time in jail.
After
And do you
selling
know
out.
what his attorney actually said?
What?
His attorney, I was reading this, of course I wasn't there, but I was reading this, that he was surprised that Cohen was saying this stuff about that this was legal fees, that it was actually not legal fees, it was hush money, because he didn't even know about it.
He admitted on the stand that he embezzled some of the money that went through his hands.
Yeah, so let's say this. Do you know,
Yeah, it's still from clients.
and here's the other thing. Do you know, I don't know how New York is, but maybe they're a little mixed up on this, but so if I were going to have a trial, one of the things I look for is to see if, let's say I'm going to have you as a witness, Jeremy. I'm going to see if you have embezzlement from the last 10 years,
Mhm.
a conviction, not a charge, but a conviction.
Okay.
I'm going to see if you have a larceny the last 10 years. I'm going to see any theft crimes to see in the last 10 years. If you have one, I'm not having you.
Because you're not a reliable witness.
Correct. You will fail at the truthful test, because the first thing that
Right.
Dan's going to do is he's going to say, weren't you convicted on 2023 for embezzlement of such and such, da, 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 da. And you're going to say yes, and then impeached,
Right.
right? So
So the only place that this works is in a New York, New Jersey, Washington, D.C. type of courtroom with a bunch of bought and paid for, not quite bought and paid for, but at least
A bad jury draw.
yeah,
nuts.
when your population is 95% Democrat and you can,
And the wrong type of Democrat.
yeah, the
and
ones who hate Trump already.
And the thing of it is, let's not forget the 34 counts, they were considered misdemeanors, but how they got to the felony part was because of the election, right?
Correct.
And so, and people don't know that, because I kept hearing a lot of people out there saying, well, this is, only 34 counts of misdemeanors, big deal. No, those are actually felonies now. But what people don't understand is that, like Dan said, how did that come over here? How did it come into state court?
Right.
It
Well,
should have never went there.
And they never had the underlying charge that predicated the rest of it. And the judge even instructed them, you don't have to prove that he's guilty of this, but if you guys have a consensus that he's guilty if like 4 of you agree that he's guilty on this,
Right. Okay. I got a comment and question because you're going about. Yeah. I got a comment and then question.
what?
One, by the way, it was Benjamin Franklin. By the way, he was commenting on Blackstone's.
Dan nailed it.
Oh, Dan
formation.
nailed it.
Franklin.
Yeah. But Blackstone said that it was better that 10 go free, and Franklin was like, it's better 100 go free than we convict one innocent. But that whole premise of you don't have to agree as a jury member on which of these 3 or 4 potential felony accounts this could have led to, but one of which the previous federal court deemed there wasn't enough evidence to prosecute. That whole thing where they were
The
like,
previous DA didn't even want to touch it.
didn't want to touch it, but this judge says you have you could give me a guilty verdict if you think that it's one of these 4, but you all don't have to agree which of the 4 it is, and I will consider that a unanimous guilty verdict. Has that in the history of any law or any court ever happened before?
I didn't read that portion. I will tell you that if that's really the case, you're not allowed to do that here in the state of Michigan.
No, that's exactly what they did. What he just described is exactly what they did.
I saw that, but I wasn't there, so I don't.
Right.
I don't want to say.
Never practiced
I only
in New
give
York.
my opinion.
Yeah.
And as a lawyer, I'm very good about that.
And now Merchant's coming under heavy scrutiny because he was appointed to be this judge. He didn't get picked out of the pool, and he sat on a couple of other high-profile Republican cases, and his daughter's receiving millions of dollars from the Democrats to run their campaigns.
And
it stinks all the way around.
It stinks all the way around, but also the gag order.
Yeah.
Oh
Now,
gosh, yeah.
I mean, so there's a gag order. You can't talk about anything about the judge, right? You can't talk about anything about the jury. You can't talk about anything about the prosecutor or anything else. And he got in contempt, like, what was it, 10 times or something like that?
It was like more than
No,
that.
I thought
it was like 19.
Maybe it was
20.
19. But anyway, the last time he says, if you don't abide by this, then you're going to go to jail. And
Trump's just like, whatever.
Yeah.
Throw me in jail.
Yeah.
the
He
thing
was
of it
like,
is, though-
do it. I dare you, dude.
yeah, I like that part. But the point is that I wanted to make is that there are gag orders, when there is criminal trials or, civil trials. But that is supposed to go around for everyone.
Right. The
Right?
prosecutor doesn't hold a press conference
Right.
on the front steps.
Exactly. So if the prosecutor is doing it, then why can't he?
Good for the goose, good for
Right.
the gander.
And so it goes against the First Amendment anyway.
Absolutely. All the way around.
All the way around. And it's very biased. It's prejudicial. It looked like it was completely.
It's a complete show trial.
Oh, it was.
Even the Russians, even the Soviets, is what the word I was looking for. Even the Soviets during the height of communist USSR, even they had some semblance of giving it the appearance of being proper, even though it was a show trial, even though they knew they were doing this to get rid of somebody that was a political opponent or whatever it was. Even they had enough wherewithal or forward thinking to realize if we make this look like a show trial, the whole reason we have the term show trial is because you had to label something that wasn't completely in your face, on the nose, obvious that it was a show trial. It was like, okay, now looking at it in retrospect, yeah, that was a show trial. But during it, they at least tried to give it some semblance of legitimacy. There's no semblance of legitimacy in any of these Trump trials.
This is a Teresa Brennan type of production.
Thank you.
These people are crazy.
Well,
Yeah.
I will say
Is she
that-
doing time right now?
No,
She's
she's
out
done.
of jail.
Oh, but she did go to jail.
6 months. That's it.
Yep.
I've been in her court before.
Have you?
She was a nasty bitch.
Well, she ruined a lot
Unless
of
you had the right
families.
attorney, they were her buddies.
She did ruin a lot of families and, a lot of individuals. It was a cloud over our county.
Mhm.
And I'm so glad that somebody had the gall to stand up.
Absolutely.
And
And it was a hard fight, but it
Right.
was righteous.
Yeah. And those two men, I thank them all the time,
Mhm.
Mr. Mr. Kaiser's one of them. Tom Kaiser, he's a wonderful man out there. And, without him, we would still have her because nobody was sticking up.
Thank you, because that's what we got to do. We got to stand up against this corruption, and it may be,
Well, and that brings you to the other thing is, why is it that on our ballots we still have underneath judges, it says who they are? Like if it says it's a circuit court judge or whatever, right? It's showing that they're an incumbent. We need to get rid of that. That's one of my goals.
Just to get rid of that designation.
Yes, and I would hope to work with a lot of the state representatives to get rid of that off the ballot, because that way we will not have these governmental appointees that we can't get rid of. And one of them is, Teresa Brennan. I'm not sure if she was a governmental government appointee.
She was a Granholm appointee.
Right. And we couldn't get rid of her.
And when she was up for election, people ran against her 3 times.
Dennis Brennan was one of them.
But Dennis Brewer.
Not Dennis Brennan, excuse me. Dennis Brewer.
There is a Dennis Brennan.
Yes, there is. Dennis Brewer, colleague of mine, he had a great campaign. He lost. And I truly believe, and Dan and I both have done, helped out with campaigns. And every time there's an incumbent, you can't ride over that. Right. And you can pay maybe $300,000 to $400,000 and you still lose.
Because 90% of the people have never been in our court.
Correct.
Don't hear the stories, don't hear how abusive these judges can be. And so you see incumbent and you don't see anything wrong with what's going on in the county or in that district. And you go, okay, well, I guess they're doing a good job because I haven't heard anything bad.
That's
exactly so you vote for them.
Right.
I've won many judicial campaigns I've been a part of against an incumbent. I'm 0-5.
Just because of that term right there.
Just because of that.
And if you take that off, it makes everybody actually look at the candidates at least for more than enough, or at least pick a name.
And I had 2 tough losses that we had a much better candidate. We had a much better campaign. It didn't matter. One was a sitting judge who's ran for promotion.
Yeah.
In another case, this person lost to a political appointee, ran for an open seat later on, and there's no incumbent and won that seat.
Okay.
So it's not like we had a bad candidate in those cases.
So is that only on the judges? Because we got I didn't get absentee. My mother-in-law and my wife got the absentees.
It's on the judges.
Only on judges lists.
So thank goodness.
Because I know this has been brought up before, the incumbents. I think you or Dan brought it up with me before.
I brought it up, yeah.
And I had to think about it, and I'm like, because when I was looking at it, I didn't see incumbent on the ballots that we got.
Well, look at the nonpartisan under judges. It'll say circuit court judge.
Think we have
anybody only be in November for this one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. There's no
not the
primaries.
There's no. You need for a primary, if there's 1 seat, you need 3 running or more for a primary.
Right. So I made sure, Tanya and her mom were like, all right, who are we? I goes, well, go to Kristina right here.
Well, thank you.
Like, and then, I wasn't supposed to say that. That's supposed to be, 4 from this house. Anyways, what are you looking at? What do you got notes for?
Well, there was a new case that came out, and I thought that was pretty neat to talk about, because we all heard of remember we were talking about the NRA and who helped the NRA?
Oh, downstairs during dinner. Yeah. And shout out to Tim for making great tacos tonight with all the fixings.
Thank you. Those were great tacos.
He's in there mixing some
great
stuff
chips.
up. But go ahead.
So we talked about who helped the NRA this time.
Yeah. This was a New York case, correct?
Yeah.
This was the one that just got recently overturned with the bump stocks.
With the ACL.
Yeah.
Yeah. So who would have thought they would go and help, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
the ACLU stepped up to help the NRA.
With the NRA versus the value case. And that was the one with the regulations and trying to put attempts on that.
Yeah.
And so what's really cool about this is that they actually helped out because of the First Amendment.
Right.
And so they're like, they put their differences aside because of the fact they don't like guns at all, and for the record, it's not that I said that. I like the Second Amendment quite a bit. Everybody mostly knows that about me. But this was critical and important because the First Amendment fight between those individuals. Are you laughing at me?
No, I was reaching for the shotgun.
Oh, were you?
Pump
Yeah, so I thought that was pretty neat because they don't want their organizations blacklisted either.
Yeah, exactly.
And so they came in and aided on that fight, and they won, and they made it abundantly clear, yes, we did go and help out with this, but it's so that we don't have, our organization's blacklisted too as well.
Exactly.
And the First Amendment is so important. So now take that back to the state, right?
Yeah.
The First Amendment is very important.
Mm-hmm.
So the Establishment Clause is pretty important, right?
Yep.
And we've had a couple cases the last year that it's just chipping away at the Establishment Clause. They could care less.
Exemption for
Yeah.
those who don't know.
Yeah, religious exemptions.
Well, you mentioned it during dinner, just how much you are constantly going back and looking at the Constitution and just, reviewing it and just mulling it over and going over it, because there's always that stuff. I love the simplicity of the Constitution, because then it doesn't allow, when you get too many words, even Proverbs says, when words are many, sin is not absent. You're going to find error when you get too many words. And I love the framers. In fact, if you look, we know this here, sitting here, the first 10 amendments, the Bill of Rights, they're very, very simple. Some of the biggest ones, the Fifth Amendment, of course.
And you know why they're incorporated into our Constitution?
Because many of the states demanded them.
Well, not only that, they thought it was so important
Mm-hmm.
because of the fact is many people came here for their right to worship,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And so they wanted those first 10 amendments incorporated into the Constitution.
Absolutely. And then you look at this, the 12th Amendment. It just goes on. I know I realize what it's dealing with, but it's like, how does, and then this one and this one and this one, with the exception of the 13th and the 19th, the rest of the amendments from that point on are like 3 paragraphs more than the biggest one of the 10.
And do you think, let me ask you this question, can a legislature go and amend a constitution? Are they supposed to?
Aren't they supposed? Doesn't it originate there, and then they have to put it before the states for a vote?
You want to take that one?
Because it has to be 3/4 of the states for a United States to ratify, or not 3/4, 2/3, right? 2/3 of the states have to ratify.
This convention as well. That
right, but doesn't the original?
Well, the people could actually amend the Constitution.
Correction, a convention
right?
of states.
But you're right. The people. So when I say out there, like for instance, you keep hearing individuals say, "I'm going to amend the Constitution as a state representative." I can't do that.
Individually.
Right.
Right.
You have to go. It's the will of the people.
Correct.
So that's how that proposal.
Mm-hmm.
That's how that got changed, like the marijuana, right?
Yeah.
And then also the proposal.
3.
Prop 3.
Yeah, Prop 3.
It had to be
I
voted
keep
on.
calling it proposal. Prop 3.
Yeah.
That's because it was the will of the people.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's against what I believe in, but that's the will of the people.
Mm-hmm.
That was the will of the people. My faith says completely opposite. I feel like a lot of people didn't know what they were voting for at that time period. And when you go back into, like, for instance, this debate
Mm-hmm.
that we just had the other night, they keep talking about the abortion issue, right? And you look at the commercials that Biden keeps doing on TV, and he keeps talking about abortion after abortion after abortion, right? And he's going to take your rights away. He's going to take your rights away. We don't have Roe versus Wade anymore. It's the will of the people in the states.
And but you and I both know the reason they keep hammering this is because that's what they're afraid of, because the vast majority of this country, the overwhelming majority of this country, is pro-life.
There's a lot of people
and
out
the
there.
minute you show them a video like I've seen a number of times, shared with other people, of an actual abortion,
It's sickening.
it's sickening. To watch a baby being ripped apart and pulled from a womb, it is sickening. And when you actually show somebody, the vast majority of them go, that's what's actually, yes, that's what's happening. When you
Did you
see the
know-
babies trying to fight.
Right. Did
in the
you know
womb.
that Dan was like about 2.5 pounds. Was it 2.5 pounds?
2.5, or a little more than 2.5, 215. But I was a 3-month preemie.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
Wow.
his mom showed me a picture when I first met his mom and dad in Florida. First time I ever met her.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
It showed me a picture of Dan as a baby, and just his head was like right here, like not even fitting in the whole hand. It was just amazing to me to think that somebody would abort that child when it would have been my husband, you know,
Mm-hmm.
who I love deeply. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Well,
I give you credit once in a while, honey.
and they use it again. It's not about this whole idea of the health of the mother or incest or rape. It's less than 1%. It's all about birth control, and really, it goes back to Margaret Sanger wanting to get rid of the black population. It's literally where that came. The national push for abortion came from.
Oh, I know it.
And that's what the part disgusts me about the whole thing, because it's never about what they say it's about. But that's why they keep hammering it.
Exactly.
They keep hammering it.
And they use like these big issues, and they try to, that's already maybe been decided,
Mm-hmm.
or, you know, it's been part of the old election. And then they're going to say, he's going to take your rights away. You know, he's going to do this.
Which the reality is, since Roe has been overturned, there are a number of blue-controlled states, Democrat-controlled states, that have gone far beyond what Roe ever legislated. Again, like
We live
Virginia,
in one of them.
you know, yeah, exactly. They've gone so far beyond just the simple right to have an abortion, but there's a number of states that have detailed it. Now, there's a number of great states that have swung all the way the other way and said none. And if you want one, go to their state. Oh, we got to go to another state to do this. Okay, go to another state.
Yeah.
We're going to take a break. We'll be back here shortly, guys, and we'll continue this conversation. We're going to dive into more legal analysis with Kristina and Dan. This is My Brain. Check.
You know, eggs and milk, and there were grocery things that were up. It has gone down. It has gone down since 2022. Gas prices, because of the actions that this president took, and let's not forget there was an invasion, but Russia did obviously into Ukraine, that caused gas prices to tick up. The president took action, tapped the SPR, and we saw gas prices go down. The president has met the moment with every issue that we have had in front of us.
I feel like I'll go be sick. I just looked through my Walmart history, and I found this Walmart order from 2 years ago for the whole month worth of groceries. 45 items cost $126. A whole month of groceries just for me, basically. But I did notice this reorder all button, and I wanted to see how much it would cost now. Now, this order of 45 items for 1 month would have cost $414. That is 4 times more. How? What?
First time I didn't watch a man slur his words a little bit or forget his surroundings momentarily. I watched a man completely void of all awareness. A man not present at all in mind. A man who desperately needs help and care. He should have been helped to walk away months, if not years ago. There is no shame in being unwell. Zero. It's not that he's old. I know people far older who are sharp as tacks. It's not his age. He is unwell. He can't control it. It's sad. Many of us have seen our own loved ones go through similar things. It is just cruel to continue propping him up and putting him in places he does not belong. There is no way in hell Joe Biden is running America. No way. Which raises a question, who is?
The distinguished gentleman from Florida.
Time's expired. Does any other member seek recognition?
Mr.
Chair
Chairman,
recognizes Ms. Green.
I'd like to know if any of the Democrats on this committee are employing Judge Merchan's daughter.
please tell me what that has to do with Merrick Garland.
Is she a porn star?
Oh, Goldman. That's right. He's advising. Okay.
He's advising who? What? Do you know what we're here for? You know we're here about
just a-
AG
I
I
Garland.
don't
point
think
of-
you
point
know
of
what
order.
you're here
President.
for.
Well, you the one talking about. I guess
I
you're
think
still
your
stuck in the
fake eyelashes
courtroom.
are messing up.
No,
what you're
ain't
reading.
nothing.
Hold on.
Listen.
Order.
Mr. Chairman,
That's beneath
would
even
you
you,
please
Ms. Green.
regain
That's beneath
order
even
of your
you.
committee?
Order.
Please.
I do have a point of order, and I would like to move to take down Ms. Green's words. That is absolutely unacceptable. How dare you
meeting will
attack the
suspend,
physical
meeting will
appearance of another
suspend.
person?
Are your
Move
feelings
her
hurt?
words down.
Oh,
Oh, girl, baby girl.
oh, really?
Don't even play. with
Baby
me.
girl?
We're gonna,
I don't think
we are going to
so.
move, and we're going to take your words down.
I
Thank you very
second that motion.
So who will have to pay? Okay. But Ms. Green agrees to strike her words.
I believe she
Chair
should apologize.
recognizes
No,
Mr.
she
Perry.
should
Okay,
apologize.
hold on. Then after Mr. Perry's going to be recognized, then Ms. Green
I'm not
has 4 minutes and
apologizing.
21
Well,
seconds.
then
Okay,
you're
reserve
not
the right to
striking your
object.
words.
I am
Mr.
not
Perry.
apologizing.
Now let's go. Come on, guys.
Why don't you debate me?
Mr. Chairman, the
it's
minority.
pretty
No,
self-evident.
You're not.
Yeah, you're
out
not.
of order.
You don't have enough
You're out of order.
intelligence.
Chair recognizes Mr. Perry.
Okay, move to strike
I'd
the.
like to
I
strike
move to
those
strike the
words
lady's
as well.
words.
I move to
I would
strike-
like to
Move to
strike
strike
those
the
as
lady's
well.
words again.
That's 2 requests to strike. That's 2 requests to strike.
Oh, they cannot take the
There's
words.
another motion to strike her words again. Please
All right.
get
Okay.
your members under
Here's the
control.
correct priority. Ms. Green, do you agree to unanimous consent to strike your words?
I repeat again for the second time. Yes, I'll
All
strike
right.
my words,
That-
but I'm not
all right.
apologizing.
Without objection. Without
Not
objection.
apologizing.
Chair
Reserving the right to
recogni-
object.
No.
Chairman, I
Chair
reserve the right to object.
recognizes Mr.
I
Perry.
reserve the right to object.
This is my brain.
I agree to have my words struck, but I am not apologizing. Not apologizing.
Not apologizing.
Are we fighting over buttons?
No, we're good. Coming back to you.
All right, okay. Let's do that. Why is lapel 5 open up?
No, but you hear that when I unmute myself? There's like a line hum.
Yes.
That little background buzzy fuzzy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I'm not very loud in your guys' ears. It's just because
You
Jeremy.
you are when you're main,
Yeah.
but when you just go to you trying to talk into my ear, I hear more of the room.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Anyways,
It's not even on.
all right, let's dive into this. What do you want to start with first? Coming back from the break.
You know, what we should talk about is who's Trump's prosecutor over there in New York, right?
Alvin bragging about
Yeah,
his stupidity.
Bragg, and he's bragging
He's
about it
bragging.
all day. And he's a Democrat, right?
Appears to be.
Manhattan District Attorney, but where did he come from?
Oh, do tell. I
Do you know
believe
where he comes from?
Well, if it's a DA that's a woke DA, it's bad news.
Does it start with George and end with Soros?
Well, I'm not.
DOJ.
Or Merrick Garland?
Yeah, I'm thinking that he's from the DOJ.
We could have had that little weasel as a Supreme Court justice. Can you imagine that?
Garland needed to be shot down, and he was. Good riddance to that
And look
gun
what they
grabber.
tried to do to was it Gorsuch? With the 35 years ago, you were at a frat party and
No, Kavanaugh.
That's
Kavanaugh, yeah. Ridiculous, man. All right, let's go over Bragg.
And what about Stormy Daniels, though? Can we really? I want to go back to Stormy Daniels. Stormy Daniels, can we really take her word for anything?
No.
I mean,
she has two signed affidavits that nothing happened between her and Trump.
And think about it this way. That was already stated. That was the October surprise during the 2016 campaign. Remember the October surprise?
Yep.
And Pence is standing up there like, well, what do I do about this? We'll go with the campaign. Remember that?
Right.
And you know.
And where's her attorney at? He's in prison. That's right. He's in prison because he tried to embezzle money out of Nike. What was that idiot's name? Stormy Daniels.
Here's where Bragg came from.
Yeah, give us to us.
He was under the Obama administration.
Surprise.
He was appointed as AUSA. assistant U.S. attorney.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you always hear about who the U.S. attorney is. You never hear about the AUSAs. Those are the ones that are generally the ones you see at trial.
Okay.
And so he got appointed, where was it? Yeah, 2009. That was Obama left the be litigation attorney for New York City Council. So he's basically a politician.
Yeah.
And went to serve as AUSA for Southern District of New York, and then got appointed by Eric Schneiderman, another Democrat AG, New York AG, and ended up running a lot of lawsuits there against Trump.
And Obama
That was
appointed.
2017.
Yeah.
Right after Trump got elected, he joined the New York AG.
What about this Joshua Steinglass?
Steinglass?
Yeah.
What case is he
Steinglass.
on?
He's that Manhattan prosecutor that's been there for more than 25 years.
Okay.
He's the one that he worked on some of the office's high-profile cases, including the Trump Organization's tax fraud in 2022.
Okay.
So, I mean, it looked like the stacking of the deck again.
Right.
Right? So, and then you got this Susan Hoffinger. I'm not sure who she is. Do you know who that is?
Not a fan.
She's supposed to be the chief of the district attorney's investigation division.
Hmm.
And she returned to the office in 2022 after more than 20 years of practice. But she worked with Steinglass too in the Trump Organization tax fraud prosecution. So you can see
It's
that
incestuous.
all these people were trying to, they have so much hate that Trump won the 2016.
Right.
They're trying to make sure that he doesn't win the 2024 because he's come back and look what's happened to this man during the whole entire time period of 2020 all the way up until now. And let me ask you this question. Why is it that they didn't go and bring up these cases? Have you ever thought about this? Why didn't they bring these cases up immediately?
Yeah.
Number one. Or number two, why didn't they bring this up back in 2020, like 4 years ago?
2015.
Or 2015.
Some of them, yeah, depending on
Either
what
way. I'm just saying either way, honey.
Yeah,
I mean,
because
Mr. Wholihan.
they no, he's honey on this. Because they know what they're trying to derail the campaign, and the problem is the vast majority of people are seeing through it. I looked at a poll today. Biden has gained 7 more percentage of people that no longer see him fit for office.
There you go.
He was 68, now he's 75.
Basement Biden.
68.
That's why he was basement.
And did you
Biden.
see?
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you look at like the search warrants and things of that nature, you know, those were ridiculous.
They just had to admit that they set everything up. They put classified envelopes over a bunch of documents that were not classified documents.
And do you know how many
Staged
presidents
it.
have like classified information?
It was a Clinton ruling from the Supreme Court that said if a president takes home any documentation from his presidency, it is automatically declassified and his property to take because he was the president at the time and he held the highest
But here's the thing,
classification.
though. If you remember, Trump actually asked these people, what's classified? What's not classified?
He was in negotiations with them and said, what documents are you looking for? I'll give them back to you.
And what people really should take from all this is it's scary because this can happen to all of us.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you look back at the search warrant, I mean, we don't have a lot of time to go through all that, but the search warrant was against his rights. I mean, it was completely
not only against a president, but against any individual.
Any
It would have been
individual,
abhorrent.
probable cause, you know. I mean, people don't understand what you need to have for a search warrant, but you're violating somebody's 14th Amendment rights. You're violating somebody's 4th Amendment rights, which also, you know, if you think about it too this way, when you go and look at the Extreme Protection Act that was just passed, and I don't know if you know this or not, but I was kind of appalled this last week. I think it was this last week. I received a flyer from Bob Azat, state representative. It said, I stand for the guns. Really? Well, you didn't ask for anyone to come into any hearing to go and testify against those red flag laws or against the Extreme Protection Act. But he stands for the guns. He didn't stand for the
I
guns.
remember one clip that was sent out quite a bit back in 2020, actually, was when actually was one of her congressional opponents completely flubbed the red flag question.
Mm-hmm.
Bazat spoke after that, and he says, Protect Our Republic event. This was either late 2019 or early 2020. And he ended up said, we took the guns. That's what Bob said in some police situations, his friend his time as sheriff. And my guard got up at the time, because at that time I was working with Bob, and I'm thinking, oh no, if his opponent saw this, he's done.
Mm-hmm. They took the guns as you.
Now, I don't know if there's video clips of that or not.
Yeah.
And I don't know all the context that he was describing.
Right.
But whatever reason, it's what happened. So does he really stand for the Second Amendment, or is he voting that way because he has to in this district when he shows up to vote?
Interesting.
And I think that big piece came out because of the fact is, I always look at, what have you done in the community? You know, what kind of things have you done for people? Not what Lansing's tells you to do, and not what actually Lansing tells other people you did.
And that's actually what that mailing was. Is Lansing that said that.
Right. And if you look at his flyers, you know, some of it we're paying for, but also as taxpayers. But some of it, it looks like it's going to where, honey?
It's corporate issue ads.
Yeah.
That was done by, I'll just say it here, Matt Hall. These are his people through his consultants.
Okay.
Well, you don't know if it's from directly from Matt Hall.
Okay, Yob.
In your opinion.
I'll say Yob. I know it's Yob because it's one of his organizations.
Okay.
They call it Building a Better Michigan. I looked them up. It was run by some of Brian Calley's people, same consultant. And he's putting out issue ads. One that was out that said that on the Second Amendment, and there's other ones on about illegals that they put out, the issues that we're hearing all the time here. And then there was one that offended me a bit.
Well, hold on. Can I just say why this? I don't mean to interrupt you, honey. Sorry, but put that down on the paper. But the reason why I brought that up is because we were talking about this lawfare, right? Yeah. And Extreme Protection Act is lawfare, right?
Yeah.
And so is PPOs, if you think about it in some aspects, because
you can go file them without really a whole lot of evidence or anything.
Right. Well, no. Here's the real problem with PPOs. You don't have to. So it's supposed to be that you file a civil action or an action where the occurrence or transaction occurred, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And where the people live, right?
Right.
I represented somebody dear to all of us, right?
Yep.
And we had to go all the way over to Washington County, which is not Livingston County.
Not friendly
because they went judge shopping.
In my opinion, yes.
Forum shopping, technically.
It's forum shopping. Mm-hmm. And the point is that if we would have had it in Livingston,
yeah,
we would have had it done. I don't even think they would have accepted the petition, number one. That's the reason why I think this person filed it over there. But the second thing is that's my opinion. The second thing is I think that, in my opinion, that Livingston County would have had it within the next week or the week after, not had it months out. And so that violated my clients' due process rights.
For months.
Yes, for months.
Waiting for it to get on the docket.
Right. Mm-hmm. But I told this person, hang on, just hang on. And I don't know if you saw my quote in the paper, but I said, here's my quote. My client hasn't had her day in court yet.
I remember that.
Right?
Yep.
That's all I said.
How come this made the papers too?
Before it even was processed through the system.
And I asked this person, I said, did you leak it to the paper? Because just so for everyone's knowledge, PPOs do not go and get leaked. They're supposed to stay there, and they're supposed to be there for the protection of the alleged victim.
Correct.
So that they're
all of
not
a sudden
supposed to be
the
public
victim's out there
knowledge.
talking about how afraid she is.
Right. So not only did we have all of the press knowing and calling my office, and I'm a person that as an attorney, I will not go, I don't like to try things in the press because it's all about the client's needs. It's all about the client. What can we do that for that person?
Well, the judge isn't the court of public opinion. It may be.
And it's not publicity.
Exactly.
It's not about my fame and glory. What can I get out of it?
Right.
It's all about that person.
Correct.
What they're going through.
Yeah.
How can we get them out of this?
Mm-hmm.
Well, same thing with the Extreme Protection Act. And I try to explain this to other people, like, so they can relate to it. The Extreme Protection Act, they can actually go and file it, like up in Manistee. They can go file it over in Ann Arbor. They could go file it, and they can just, and there's different categories with it. The dating
And
relationship.
if it's your cousin's, uncle's, brother's, ex-girlfriend's friend that thought you might be dangerous.
Well, there's certain definitions, but a rape victim can actually go, in my opinion, be re-victimized because, you could say with a person who, allegedly raped the individual, said, you know what, we were in a dating relationship. All of a sudden, that rape victim can get re-victimized because that person bought a gun to protect themselves. And that person has every right to do that because that's their Second Amendment.
Mm-hmm.
So people forget about that kind of stuff, and their definitions are horrific, in my opinion, on that aspect because of that rape victim.
Yeah.
I'm all about making sure that domestic violence victims get the therapy that they need.
Yeah.
But also rape victims too as well. But also make sure that they understand as soon as they get the therapy that they need and they feel like they're sound. And I even tell them to take Taekwondo courses, things of that nature, get their self-esteem up, right?
We used to do that in this country.
Right.
When there was a rapist, a rash of rapes going through a city, we didn't say, okay, just lay down and be a victim. We opened up and paid. They got free courses on how to defend themselves walking home. Here's a can of mace. Here's, they had a couple other little tools that women would carry in their purses and stuff like that, just to protect themselves. Now we go, oh no, the answer is to disarm everybody.
Well, and I tell them after we go through all that, and I feel like they're a little bit more back on their feet.
Mm-hmm.
I tell them, okay, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go over to Peacekeepers over here in Howell.
Yep.
Or I want you to go over to see Mike over in Mason, wherever they live.
Right.
I know a few people.
I like Huron Valley too.
Yeah. Yep, they're good too.
Yep.
But I make sure that they go get training over there before they go and buy a gun themselves.
Hell yeah.
And feel safe with them. And I know those guys will go and make sure that they are trained.
Yes.
And sometimes I'll give Mike a call over in Mason and say, hey, I'm sending someone over to you. Peacekeepers, I just tell them, hey, just tell them.
It's empowering.
Right.
It's empowering to know that you get to carry a gun and it's empowering to know that you at least have a level playing field of defense.
But going back to the PPOs and the Extreme Protection Act, it can be lawfare used against you.
Absolutely.
In fact, I can see many threats going out there saying, you know what, I think you're crazy, and I'm going to file this with the courts, this emergency thing. Violates your 14th Amendment, your Second Amendment, your Fourth Amendment, your Fifth Amendment, and your Sixth Amendment, and your 14th Amendment. And that's wrong.
Absolutely.
And that is going to be lawfare that I believe, in my opinion, that a lot of different people are going to be starting to use. And we need to rescind that law and make sure that the individuals here in the state of Michigan are safe. And I'd like to and the only reason why I'm bringing that up is because the fact is that this is another tool for lawfare, just like we had in this case with New York.
Absolutely. And the answer, in my opinion, is never less. It's more gun rights. In fact, it's not even more gun rights. It's just the simplicity of the Second Amendment and even the simplicity of 6C, the Michigan Constitution.
Oh,
I like that one because it even says defense.
It does, but we have to get a Supreme Court up there that.
Correct. But my point is that arm everybody. Arm them all. You know what I'm saying? Go back to the Constitution says the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. It doesn't say unless you're a felon, unless you're a this, unless you're that. You know, the reality is you equalize the playing field across the board. Then when criminals do criminal acts, everybody's armed. And it is a huge deterrent when they have a sign out front of a school that says, our teachers and faculty may be armed, enter at your own risk if you have nefarious ideas. It is much more of a deterrent than this is a gun-free zone, because a gun-free zone, they know there's no resistance walking in the door.
Well, gun-free zone, you know, I will say this, I am happy that we see that there are alarm systems on our, like, you know, a buzz button to get into the schools. But I'd like to see that instead of taking people's guns away, let's fix the root of the problem. And this is one of my things on my platform. I'm kind of like, you know, I'd like to fix everything, but I can't fix everything without the help of other state representatives.
Correct.
But I have lots of goals. But one of the biggest goals too is making sure that we help the mental health, because we are disgraceful. Since it's been the last 20 years, we have not rebuilt the mental health. We have, you know, we have a hospital like situated, like maybe, you know, like right here in plain view. And then we put the mental health way down here.
The minute you walk in and say you're struggling with something, they stamp a label on you.
True.
And you're, you know, crazy, and either you get help or you get marginalized.
And one of the things that I was talking to a doctor here in Livingston County, and one of the things that he said to me that really struck a nerve, not a nerve, but it was very profound to me, is that we're missing the nutrition with mental health. And there are so many people that are so good and so good-hearted that we need to make sure that we help them, you know, achieve those results and achieve goals. I know of a recovery place right in Fowlerville that helps a lot of individuals. And I want to reach out to the individuals in our district and see how we can rebuild Michigan and rebuild our county and make sure that we don't have that mental health, so that we don't have somebody that goes and comes into the schools and shoots up the school or anything of that nature. Or we don't have somebody.
That's being a true community.
Right.
Looking out for everybody.
And that's what we need to do. We need to look out for everybody.
And nutrition, I think you're saying, you know, it is in our food supply. They know that just a lack of iodine in the salts drop IQ 15%.
You're right. And he was telling me this because we were talking about they would rather have like some marijuana, you know, like go purchase their marijuana or go and have heroin instead of basically going because they can't afford the food.
I heard this the other day and it was very profound to me as you're talking about profound things to you. Somebody said, you know, we've been taught that feeling sad or feeling anything negative is in and of itself a bad thing. It's not a bad thing, but we've been taught that. And then the minute you feel something sad, feel something bad, here's a pill to fix that. Now we're not touching on those issues that all happen in life. You know, if your family member passes away, there should be some sadness and grieving in a whole process. If something else happens in your life, there should
it's a time to grieve.
Correct. And
what
so
about
you
that
take
song?
it from exactly. And you take it from that dynamic and then bring it across the board and go, look, there are times when we should feel a little melancholy. We should feel a little remorse. And if a family member passes, we should feel a loss. We should feel that time of mourning. And yet we're being prescribed pills from the pharmaceutical companies to remove any of that negativity from our lives, and therefore people don't have a proper perspective on it. I remember a great treaty by G.K. Chesterton from 1890 or something like that, 1890. And he says in this one article he did, and it's a whole collection. I think it's either in Heretics or Orthodoxy. It's one of the collection of articles. They put them together into books. Anyways, he says on the issue of healthcare, first of all, it should not be called health care, because if you have health, you don't need care. It should be called sick care. And sick is not bad. It recognizes the actual problem. When we call it health, that's bad, because now we're being deceptive in what we're actually doing. We're actually treating sickness, but calling it health care. and that in of itself is the issue.
And usually what's called health care really references insurance.
True. Yeah. And so you deal with veterans. I'm dealing with our veterans here, with the shows that we're doing and some of the things we're developing with our veterans. And they are, they have all of these PTSD. They've got all these things that they're dealing with.
And I tell you what,
and they're
tell me-
marginalized.
Right. And not only that, people don't understand too. We haven't walked a mile in their shoes, right? And I try to get real with a lot of my veterans, well, tell me, what can I do to help you, right?
Right.
And I even told this one veteran, I said, look, if you want to go to therapy, I'll go with you.
Yeah.
I mean, not that I have all the hours in the day, but if that's going to help that person, let's do it.
Yeah.
Right. So I found therapy for some of the individuals and they did it, but I'd like to see us focus on the Veterans Court a little bit more and try to implement some of I was talking to Mike Cunningham, and I want to work with their nonprofit and try to implement some of that stuff into the Veterans Court to make sure that, we're doing everything we can for the veterans, because sometimes, I haven't walked a mile in their shoes or anything of that nature. You haven't either as well.
Correct.
But when they go from military law to civil law,
yeah,
it's completely different. And they don't understand it. And that's one of the reasons why one of my guys almost lost his National Guard job. And I fought and fought and fought. And now guess what? He's still with the National Guard. But,
awesome.
I'm very proud of that. I thought he was going to pick me up in the middle of the aisle there, but but he gave me a big hug and
You're supposed to keep
I'm sorry.
I can't read your
iTunes was on this TV.
Yeah, it was not playing.
Well, it was playing through the TV and I could hear it. That's why I bought it. I can literally hear it sitting here. I'm like, what music?
It shouldn't have been playing unless somebody else turned it on, because I had it
It
shut.
was still playing background, but it didn't go all over the air.
Tell me something. Now, how is it every time I come on this show that we have some kind of
There's
like
always something. It's not just you.
Okay, good.
Great
It's not you.
by the way.
I'm constantly trying to make everything better, and in the making it better, you have to tear things apart to make it better. If I put a,
I want to thank you though for doing this show and thank you for having us on.
Absolutely.
We appreciate you. I know Dan and we talked about that a lot. We appreciate all of you. In fact, we did bring you something tonight. I don't know if this is the proper time to do this, but
yeah, no, it's perfect. There's always a proper time here.
We brought you one too as well. And we brought Larry one as well.
Larry just chimed in a chat a few minutes ago, said greetings, so he must have made it up to the cabin.
So please make sure that Larry...
Take America Back. What's that last? Oh, it's just Take America Back. It's just the fleur-de-lis going on.
It's a Trump pen.
Trump pen. That's awesome.
And we wanted to make sure that you got that because...
That's awesome. I'm trying to see if we don't have the overhead turned on.
We have Independence Day coming up, this week. And,
I love it.
That's
gorgeous.
I thought it was... My mom thought it was supposed to be
Are you going to go to the overhead?
No, the table. You don't have the overhead connected.
Yeah, it's connected in the browser.
Speaking of
OBS.
Independence Day, we all have a little bit more independence. The Supreme Court came through with the Chevron the overturned Chevron deference.
Yeah, let's dive into that and explain it as Tim's trying to find it.
On that, but
if you go to the overhead, Tim, I did turn it on in the OBS.
No, it's not working.
Oh.
Functioning.
Deactivate, activate.
Cam link.
Yeah, just deactivate, activate, because I did it already.
Whoa.
What the hell?
Just cam. No, the source is not there.
Okay.
Screen.
Huh.
Nope.
You didn't go to the scene, though.
Overhead scene?
Yeah.
No, that means I lose everything.
Oh, all right. Well, it was. I had it working before the show started, so it is what it is. Anyways, this is a gorgeous pin. I wanted you guys to see it out there. Go to the table shot.
You have me in a different scene.
Go back
Now I'm going to no.
We're just black now. See, you had to say that we were doing
That's where
something.
I was going. to then bring Mike back, you can stay in your chair.
Oh, there we go. Are you going to do yours? Okay. These are gorgeous pins. I love them.
I'm glad you love them.
So let's talk about Chevron as Tim puts that over there.
Real quick.
Explain what Chevron is, and then
Back in '84, around that time, the Supreme Court at the time was back during, I think there might have been the Warren Burger years. One of the left likes to call him conservative. He was not. He was a statist. Bad news. Supported Roe v. Wade. Hates the Second Amendment and hates freedom. Good riddance. But they implemented with deference to the administrative state. It was really born on steroids with the Chevron deference.
Okay.
When a regulation was written, the courts deferred to the regulation that the government agency.
So to explain in layman's terms, the Chevron deference is that a non-legislative body that's empowered by the legislature could impose any type of regulation that they wanted, and the court would say it's de facto legislation because the legislature empowered the whatever regulation group it was.
If things were even up, it deferred to them.
Correct. And so they said, well, it has to have merit in statute because they were empowered by Congress to act, but the regulations that they're imposing were never adjudicated, never legislated, never brought forth by people that represent us. So you have, in effect, unelected bureaucrats writing regulations that affect our lives. And now this has come up before the Supreme Court.
Got it.
And there's I believe it's a 6-3 decision.
Give a recent example of that, honey, so that everybody understands.
Yeah, the exact case that was brought before them had to do with the.
I'm gotta look that up.
Look that up
together. Time lately, but
Tim got it. That is gorgeous.
Oh.
Oh. Well, you can see it. We can see it over here.
Okay, great.
I just had to go to manual focus.
Yeah. No, that's great.
Now you guys.
All right.
Nice.
Now we're blurry.
I know. Put another shot. Do it.
What's the blurry? Oh, I can, but you know what happens when I do that?
No, I just had to hit autofocus. This is why I need 3 guys on it.
I know it. We're working on them.
You don't need 3 guys. You're great.
But I'm looking at the case.
Hey, my buttons worked.
Yeah, John Roberts actually came through on this. It was
well, he wasn't compromised on this one.
Kagan was the most irate about it.
I picked the wrong chair today when I shuffled chairs.
Here
That's
in
for
the
you people
creaking?
out there. Dude, I'm like,
Okay, Loper. Yeah, it's Loper Bright Enterprises
yeah, what was the actual
versus Raimondo and Secretary of Commerce. And
Jeremy, you're right.
under the Chevron doctrines, the courts have been required to defer to permissible agency interpretations of the statutes those agencies administer, even when reviewing the court reads the statute differently. And
what was the specific, but it was commerce, but what was the specific thing? They were trying to regulate them because we're seeing this across the country right now. There's a state right now where they're trying to regulate water consumption by farmers. Was it Oregon and Idaho?
Sure.
They're trying to regulate how much water they can use because the cities and states and shit like that need the water more than the farmers.
Is the the Administrative Procedure Act is what they was targeted, and in this case it was National Marine Fisheries.
That's what it was. They were having to. That's what you reminded me. They're having to pay $700 a day to have a fish and game official on their boats while they're fishing. They're having to pull out of their own pocket to pay for the guy to be on their boat to then regulate them and tell them what to do.
Right.
You're going, this is ridiculous. You want to regulate this one thing. I still got a problem with that. But then we got to pay out of our pocket while you send billions of dollars to Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
On this show, you kind of get 2 middle fingers up in your face going, not right. It's not right. So is there, what do you see the ramifications of this, counselors, rippling through that this was not just this case. This case send ripple effects throughout the whole bureaucratic situation, saying, look, we're gonna de-teeth you, we're gonna defang you. You're not gonna have the same carte blanche to just walk all over the people of this nation.
I think this could have been the greatest moment of Trump's presidency.
Because of the three justices he got.
That you talk about going after the deep state, cleaning up the deep state.
Yeah.
This is the first time in
look how many departments there
forever
are.
that this happened.
Look how many departments there are. Now,
we need to abolish like 3/4 of the government right now.
If you got rid of a lot of the departments, and of obviously, I don't know every single department, but if you got rid of some of the departments, shoot, we would have less taxes taken out of us. We maybe have more money in our pocket.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Republicans
pay down the national debt.
Right. And Republicans have to remember, what are we all about? Smaller government, less less taxes,
constitutional freedoms,
less regulations.
Yeah.
Right.
Local
constitutional
control.
freedoms.
Yeah.
Local control.
And look what Trump, he already has a track record in his first term of walking in there and deregulating thousands of industries. This puts more teeth on our side, on that side of smaller government, of less intrusion, less taxation,
Exactly.
less oversight from a bureaucracy.
And I think you're going to see that this issue is going to come up again in lower state courts.
Yeah.
And then they're going to have to appeal it, and they're going to
It's gonna
say,
come all the way up.
yeah.
Yeah. And this is one of the times, and I agree with Robert Barnes on this, that I can't stand precedent in general, because there's been too many things pushed through based on precedent versus re-examining the law every time. They say, well, you've ruled on this, therefore we're going to go with that one ruling, instead of going back every time and re-examining what the original intent of the framers were, going back to original Constitution. They say, well, it was ruled on here, so therefore it's going to be on that standing, because they've ruled poorly at times, horribly at times.
Or they kick the ball.
And they kick the ball. But this is one case where I'll say that a ruling giving precedence to then carry forward. But the only reason that I think that is because they ruled in line with the constitutionality of it.
Correct.
Not because they ruled within precedent or made a new precedent. They went back to, they reverted back to, you can't be a non-legislature and legislator.
The other thing this does, sorry to interrupt, but that's, I think, also puts into perspective the importance of having good people who know what they're doing in the legislature who write these laws.
Absolutely.
Because beforehand, the agencies could bail them out.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
Correct. That's huge. What were you going to say?
No, I was going to say, where does that say in the Constitution that the regulations, or that who passes the law?
Especially
right?
the legislature,
Right.
the laws.
Who makes the laws?
That was one of the difficulties with Trump, is he's such a constitutionalist, he had a team of legal. He didn't even want to do executive orders because there's that the majority now he has rights on a number of things to do executive orders. That's why they're in place. But he defaulted so many times. That's why he worked for 3 Supreme Court justices to be put in place, because he wanted the laws that are passed in Congress, if the Congress gets out of place, to be challenged in the judiciary. But he's there tasked with just being the executive, just executing on these
Well, just right
laws.
at the state level, we have checks and balances.
Correct.
And where are the checks and balances? Well, we have the executive, we have the legislative, and then we have the judicial.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why we want to make sure each one has their separate powers is to make sure we have a check and balance. It's kind of like having a checkbook, not kind of, having a checkbook and making sure
You're
that
balanced.
you're balanced.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
And if you're not balanced, something's off.
Correct.
And we haven't had that really since Governor Whitmer.
well, even I would even say Granholm and
well, Granholm either. That's true.
And the guy in between was a rubber stamp, even though we thought he was going to be a
Rick
Republican.
Snyder wasn't all that great.
He was going to be a Republican business owner, and he walked in there with a rubber stamp and did 2/3 of what the left wanted in the first place. Not as egregious as what Whitmer has done, obviously, but he still was not. I was pissed. We had look at Atlanta, look at New Orleans, look at well, they're outside of the United States, but Vancouver and a couple other places. We had a thriving. It was prophesied by Kim Clement. We had a thriving movie industry and television industry going on through Detroit. In the process of revitalizing Detroit, Schneider came in and cut all of the tax benefits. You know where everybody went? Atlanta, to Georgia. They went to New Orleans. They went to Desert. They're doing TV shows now. They might be woke TV shows, but at least there was revenue coming in from these industries, and the incentive was the tax breaks. And the tax breaks. That's the dirty little secret is you give a production company a tax break, they end up spending 10 times as much money in the local economy because they're paying for the food trucks to show up. They're paying for extras throughout the community. They're paying for local seamstress and people to do wardrobes. They're doing all this stuff. And he cut one of those. I was like,
well, look at the Howell Mountain Festival, right? The Howell Mountain Festival.
Yeah.
People don't realize the revenue right there with the local businesses here in Howell. They actually are supporting the local government. You know, the proceeds right there.
Exactly.
And so what legislatures, going back to legislatures, they really need to know what's going on at the local government, because the local government, they know the people so well.
Exactly.
And I mean, you go to Cohocton, you go to Handy Township. In fact, you know, a lot of these individuals, you know, you learn why you go to these township meetings.
Right.
You know, look at, for instance, Handy Township Supervisor Elverson. He is very, very astute. And he was teaching all of us that night about the PFAS and how the limits go, you know, the levels, and how
we had Jason Grostic on last year.
Well, the COVID testing with the waste.
Right, but we talked about the PFAS, that issue that he was dealing with. His whole farm is screwed because of PFAS.
And that's ridiculous, but
yeah, it's horrible. Tim, you were playing the
nostalgic video. Yeah, I went and found the
the nostalgic video of stuff. I'm just a Bill from Capitol Hill. You know, they actually
never even get this far. I hope they decide to report on me favorably, otherwise I may die.
Die?
Yeah, die in committee. Oh, but it looks like I'm going to live. Now I go to the House of Representatives and they vote on me.
If they vote yes, what happens?
Then I go to the Senate and the whole thing starts all over again.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. I'm just a bill. Yes, I'm only a bill. And if they vote
you know,
for
and
me
the reality
Where's the executive order?
Yeah, exactly.
But the reality is this Schoolhouse Rock was phenomenal for teaching us.
And you know what? I sang that song all week long.
I did too.
I was like, I'm just a Bill.
Dude, I think I'm listening to it, trying not to sing along with it.
Me too.
Because I knew it.
It's gonna be in my head all night.
Exactly.
I'm just a Bill.
But you know, one of the things I think of Andrew Jackson. Famously, the Supreme Court ruled against him, and he said, "Okay, they've made their ruling. Let them enforce it. Let's see him enforce it," because he was the commander-in-chief of all armed forces, right? But I think his term was 1830s, 1836, something like that, somewhere right in there in the 30s. Right, Andrew Jackson?
It was the 1830s.
But anyways, the power of the judiciary, I can't say that word.
Judiciary.
Did I say it right? Judiciary. Okay.
It's the Jews.
The power, stop. The power of the judicial branch is the people. And the power of the people is the right to freedom of speech and the right to keep and bear arms.
Just so you know, it's 1829 to 1837.
37. Okay, so I said 36. I knew he was right in there.
Yeah, you were good.
But Andrew Jackson, and one of the big things that Andrew Jackson fought against was the establishment of the
Central Bank.
Central Bank. That was one of the things. He was a racist, but a lot of people were at that time. There was a lot of classism back then. But for a lot of the things that he did in the country, he was very proactive, staving off some pretty heavy duty. The rumblings of the Civil War started right after the Revolution. I mean, really, we get post the War of 1812, and we're really the fight because our framers wanted to abolish slavery day one, and they couldn't get all the states to be on board with that.
Well, you know, Abe Lincoln, I forgot to tell you this, Dan. I just found out. So I have a portrait. I have one of Abe Lincoln.
Yeah.
You know, kneeling down. And it's got a verse. And I also have the lawyer's prayer in my office. But I also have a table that my dad found of George Washington, and it's engraved, right? And he fixed it all up for me and everything. And then I have Abe Lincoln in the corner.
Okay.
It's a statue. And then in the other room, I have Trump, and I also have Reagan.
Nice.
So, but one of the things is that Abe Lincoln, I just found out, I have a new secretary, legal assistant that's working in my office now. Thank you. She actually is related to Abe Lincoln.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And she actually received she just told me this little tidbit of information the other day because she was looking at my Abe Lincoln. She goes, you know, I'm related to him. I said, really? She goes, yes, I received a $500 scholarship because of that.
Wow.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing out there, Abe Lincoln was self-taught, practiced law without having to register for the bar, and was successful.
It's the apprentice days back then.
And here's the thing that you don't know. So when I was sworn in, I'll never forget that day, by the way. When I was sworn in, my hand was shaking because that oath is so important, right?
Yeah.
You take the oath that you're going to abide by the laws of the state of Michigan.
Yeah.
You're going to abide by the Constitution, state Constitution, and the U.S. Constitution, right?
Yeah.
And you're saying your oath. And just what that means is just, you know, I can't even explain
it. Should be extremely profound.
It was very profound. But I had so many family members and friends there. And I'll never forget the judge who went and swore me in. He quoted from, guess who? Abe Lincoln.
Nice.
Yeah. And it was perseverance.
Okay.
And, you know, people said to me a while back, you know, I ran for Congress in 2020, and we lost about, I think it was less than about 4,952 votes, I believe it was.
Okay.
But in any case, people are like, why are you running again? Why are you running again? Well, I'll tell you why. Because I love our county and I love the people in it. I want to make sure outside interests are not coming in.
Right.
But the other thing is, I want someone truthful in here that's going to take care of the people, the family members, the friends that I have, the neighbors, and all of the district, and not be there for the fame and glory.
Yeah.
And just make sure that the Constitution is abided by too as well. And, you know, and looking back at Abe Lincoln, he was all about perseverance. And we are.
He didn't win anything until he won the presidency.
Right. And we're going to persevere on this.
He was a rep once.
And I'm going to finish this thought if you
Go.
can. So we're going to persevere on this. And this is what I look at when someone says to me, why are you running again? And I look at it because fighting for you, fighting for the other person. And we are all going to go and do something that's unique again.
Right.
We're going to serve the people. Right. But perseverance is what's going to get us there. And I believe that, you know, every day that we get out there and meet the people and meet more people and talk to people, they can see why we are the winning candidate and why Livingston County likes Lyke.
Absolutely. Well, and you have a track record already of fighting for people. Now, as individual clients, but as you've said yourself, there's times where you just said, you know what, this is an important issue. I'm doing this pro bono.
Right.
You know, and it's not like you're going to go to Congress and not get paid either. The worker's worth his wages.
Well, I'm not going to Congress.
Or
State representative.
State representative. Yeah.
Legislature.
Well, state.
Congress is U.S.
What do we call it? Just House of Rep? Michigan House.
Michigan House.
Yeah, Michigan House.
Okay, so you're going to the Michigan House.
There you go.
And you're going to be so there's nothing wrong with being honored with that. But the reality is you have a track record of already fighting for years for people.
Right.
That to me is huge. Whenever I've had people on here that are running for office, want to talk about different things, or are already, I go, who are you fighting? What are you fighting for? What are you fighting for? And I try to dig out those dynamics. And like I keep, like I've always say on my show, you know what? My show's about having a conversation. I want to just sit down and talk with people. If we end up talking about politics because you're running for office, we end up talking about this or that, great. But I just like sitting down. I grew up in that environment. Both of my grandfathers could just tell stories, and you were just glued because this is I can recite you back stories from both my grandfathers, and it's just they're just phenomenal. But these conversations, when the conversations have the carry the weight that they do, because of the issues that we're facing now in this country, that puts a lot more. Well, it puts a lot more weight on those conversations to say, look, we're not just sitting up here talking about foolishness or stupid ideas. We're actually dealing with things that are huge, that are impactful, that are going to affect your pocketbook, that are going to affect your livelihood, that are going to affect your children and your grandchildren.
Not only
moving forward.
that, I the other night I said to Dan, I said, do you see why that this is my most important issue to work with the legislatures, and that's with the illegal immigrants?
Yeah.
Because the fact is, I don't want to see our children killed anymore. People don't see what I don't say get to see, but what I see and see what's coming here. It's not just people who want to come and help us. It's people who want to hurt us. And not only that, we're having human trafficking. When these people say that these little kids are coming over with their parents, they're not coming over with their parents. They're coming over with somebody else.
Yeah.
And those little kids are getting harmed.
They stopped the DNA testing when Biden took office.
Right. I mean,
That makes no sense. Well, it makes perfect sense if you have the same agenda they have.
Yeah. Prove that these kids belong to you. And then where are the kids going? Where are you going?
And I've been hearing story after story. And one was very profound, that 2 of her sons died of a fentanyl, right? One-time use.
One exposure of fentanyl can kill you.
Right. One time. And you know what? We need to stop that.
Absolutely.
So how do we do this? Well, I don't have all the answers, but I do want to mirror the image of what the state of Texas, what I've looked at. But I also want to talk to this one person who's actually become an expert. I won't say her name because I don't want to exploit her, but I want to talk to her. I want to talk to some other individuals, and I want to make sure that we are protecting those young children. Because why? Those are our next generation.
Absolutely.
Right? And don't be calling them drug dealers, and don't be calling them, they shouldn't be touching in the first place. You know what? We need to make sure that doesn't happen to them.
Well, and we've also depressed our society in such a way that our kids feel hopeless and helpless, and they turn to drugs. So there's a top-down issue of, one, the drugs are there, but also why are we in such a state that they're turning to those things as alternative? When the founding of this country, you had tobacco, you had alcohol.
That's true.
Have you ever read about alcohol abuse and tobacco abuse in the colonies?
I have not.
Because they were fighting for their lives. They were fighting for their freedom. They were fighting for something greater than themselves, which was the freedom, but it goes back to that idea that, good times, strong men make good times.
Well, it goes back to, Jeremy, too.
Yeah.
I would say this. It goes back to the schooling, too.
Absolutely.
Get politics out of the schools.
Yeah.
Let's make sure that we teach them about how to skilled trades, plumbing. Let's talk to them about how to construction, building houses. If we don't start doing this,
right,
these kids, we will not have any plumbers. There will be 90-year-old plumbers out there, or no plumbers at all.
Exactly.
And we're experiencing some of that right now. And also construction workers. It's a trickle-down effect. If we don't have any houses, then the real estate people cannot sell houses.
Yep.
We don't have any houses to buy. And people can't move to our wonderful county of Livingston County.
There's very few skilled workers out there. I'm amazed at the construction that I see that is just horribly piss poor. I go, and their solution, the government solution, is to have more regulation, more oversight.
Yeah.
No, train people to do it the right way. You don't have to watch them every 10 seconds to do it the right way. You've trained them to do it the right way. It's ridiculous. I got to ask you a couple more questions, and then if there's anything in your stack, because you got a pretty good stack. We're like Alex Jones with your big stack going. I'm not even getting any of my stack, and I haven't even plugged this hour. You got to support the show. One of the things that stood out to me during the debate with Trump is he said, "You haven't fired a single person." He looked over at Biden. He says, "You haven't fired anybody." You know, because he tried to get him on the general. He's like, "You fired this general, you know, who says that you called him." I pulled up the quote here.
The losers and suckers.
15 times that Joe Biden lied. I got it on the screen behind you guys, or behind me. 15 times that Biden lied to the American people in 90 minutes. Suckers and losers. That's the first one. That was the one that was regarding when he went to Arlington and he said suckers and losers.
Yeah.
Never said it. And the one general that claimed he said it, he's the one that he fired. And Joe tried to call him out and say, "Well, you fired him." Yeah, I fired him because he was incompetent, and he tried to retaliate on me, saying that I said suckers and losers. But 20 other generals who were standing there said it never happened.
I think there's 15.
Was it 15?
Yeah.
15 other. Right. Anyways, you know, it was close.
Exactly.
Could have been up to 20.
Right.
Anyways,
it was huge.
It was huge. One of the big responses Trump came back with on that whole thing was, "Yeah, I fired him. I fired a lot of people because they weren't doing their job. You haven't fired a single person."
Right.
What the hell? Getting into office, you're probably not going to have a big cabinet. You're going to have a few people in there that work for you.
Right.
So firing may not be a big priority, but seeing someone like our Attorney General, seeing somebody like our Secretary of State, seeing other bureaucrats or other officials, I just want your opinion on how you would address those. Marjorie Taylor Greene has tried to bring article, I think it was impeachment or indictments against Mayorkas, Merrick Garland, right? Which, how do you get the guy to investigate himself or charge himself because he's the Attorney General of the United States? But either way, they're at least introducing things into Congress to hold people accountable.
I think that I thought about this a lot lately, and I thought about like the Attorney General position.
Yeah.
That holds a lot of weight, right? But who is that Attorney General? Who are they supposed to represent? They're supposed to represent all of us, not just the Democrats.
You walk in the court, it says the people of Michigan versus blah, blah, blah.
Correct. And I don't know about you, but I don't think that I would be, wanting to have those electors in there, right? I'm not part of that people of the state. So my thinking is that why isn't there somebody that looks over this Attorney General? I mean, yes, this person's an elected official, and we have, they are elected by the people, right?
But there should be a check and balance.
And we should make sure too how we're going to do that. And I've been thinking about these thoughts and thinking about, is there some kind of legislation that we can do? So I'm still thinking about that, but we need to make sure that individuals are held accountable in each position, that there's checks and balances for each person and for each elected official. I mean, obviously you can vote them out, right? You can.
But that's a cycle. That takes time.
But we also have to make sure too that we have election integrity too as well.
Exactly. That's what I would say with the Secretary of State being held accountable. It's like, you allowed all these other stuff. The legislature didn't even pass laws. They just did it by fiat. They just changed things just before the election. And we had a state that was at midnight was Trump by 3 or 4 points, and wake up in the morning and we had a ballot dump, and
boom, these explosions of bullshit.
That's it. But that's why I wanted to pick your brain on the legal Trump, dynamic of that.
Yeah, Trump made a very good point. Why didn't you fire anyone, Joe?
Yeah.
But if you think about it, there was a clip back in the day, and it says, "Hey, Joe." Well, he didn't say Joe, but President Biden. And I think he was on the airplane, and he says he was asked about the executive order and why doesn't he just take his pen and sign it? Delete it, sign it to stop the illegal
the border. Yeah.
legal immigrants. And he
Oh,
says, because they won't let me.
Who's they?
Yeah.
Right. Who's they? And so if you think about it, he can't fire anyone because of they.
Yeah. Well, he says they, and we assume the legislature, but he really means the deep state puppet masters and controllers.
People who are in control of them.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows? There might be Dr.
Dr. Jill. What else you got in your stack that you want to cover before we wrap up tonight?
I think we covered a lot of it.
Covered the hash money. We covered.
Yeah, we talked about the hush shirt.
What's going on with Georgia? I see Georgia election interference. Say again. Oh, Hitler. So the 15 things, real quick. Go around the table real quick. I'll do 1, 2, 3. Right. Suckers and losers.
Supposedly, Biden said that Trump said Hitler did good things.
Fine people.
My son died in Iraq.
Capped insulin at $15.
Lie.
I capped Medicaid drug expenses at $200.
Lie. Retaliation against your enemies. No, we're going to hold them accountable.
Trump said he'd be a dictator.
No soldiers died on my watch.
Oh, Afghanistan. Border crossings fewer than Trump. 11 million people.
Unemployment was 15% under Trump. Fauci.
And Trump wants to get rid of Social Security.
Oh, he does, huh? Yeah. Billionaires pay 8.2% in taxes.
Trump said inject bleach.
And Border Patrol endorsed me.
The Border Patrol, you said it earlier, the Border Patrol came out and said, no, we never did, never will, never would have. All right. I want to hear this one. It was the Georgia. What was the Georgia one?
Oh, the Georgia case?
I know Fannie Willis has been removed from the case, right? And it may be thrown out.
I don't think she was removed. Maybe.
I don't think she was removed yet because I haven't heard that.
Maybe I'm thinking of the other one.
No, but one of the things that I looked up and I was talking about or looking at was about, this New York hush money. It gave us a deadline, right? The deadlines.
Yeah.
And I was looking at this, and if you think about it, this is amazing because we start off March 30th of 2023, right? This is when the New York grand jury indicts Trump on state charges involving a scheme to bury allegations of an extramarital sexual encounters, right? Then April 4th, 2023, Trump's arraigned in Manhattan.
Yeah.
Right? Then May 4th, 2023, it says Trump's lawyers request to move the hush money case to federal court. And then we go to June 2nd, 2023, Trump's lawyers demand that Judge Merchan step aside from the case.
Yeah.
And you know why they wanted him to step aside, right? Because
Daughter.
what?
Because of his daughter.
Well, not only that, because he's biased.
Not only that, he was not properly appointed to oversee the case in the first place.
He wanted that case.
Of course he did.
And then we look at July 19th, 2023, we got U.S. District Elvin Halliston rejects Trump's bid to move the case from state court to federal court, right? Then we got August 14th, 2023, the judge presiding over the case, Merchan again, rejects Trump's demand to step aside. And then November 14th, 2023, Trump gives up on trying to move the case from state court to federal court. I don't think he gave up. I think his attorneys told him that it's just not going to happen.
Right.
March 14th, the Manhattan District Court's attorney said it's open to delaying the start of the Trump's hush money trial up to 30 days after receiving thousands of pages of records from federal prosecutors.
So it's leaking and fishing.
Right.
Yeah.
And then March 15th, 2024, the judge delayed President Trump's hush money criminal trial until at least mid-April, after his lawyers said that they needed more time to sift through the profusion of evidence that only recently obtained from a previously federal investigation into the matter. Now, just so you know, when you get a case, you should have all your evidence, but a lot of times, us defense attorneys, we ask for an adjournment because we didn't receive something, or we go and FOIA some information. We want to make sure that we have everything before we go and try something, right?
Right.
And then we get up to...
And from what I understand in several of these cases, they did not give full disclosure. They did not give the defense side all of the information.
Well, I think that's the reason why here that they're asking for more time to go in, because it's sifting through all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it looks like it was boxes and boxes and boxes of stuff.
Right.
Probably their computer was so filled up on their, they didn't have any room anymore for anything other cases.
It's like Hunter Biden's laptop. It's just full of stuff.
March 25th, 2024, then the judge goes and orders, this is Merchant again, orders Trump's hush money trial. And when I say hush money trial, I'm saying what they're saying it is.
Yeah.
To begin April 15th. And then he issues a gag order
Texting.
on 26th of 2024, barring Donald Trump. Again, it's against his First Amendment. The Manhattan expands Trump's gag order to bar from making public statements about the judge's family, April 1st, 2024, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's that matter? That's like taking, again, away his First Amendment.
Correct.
April 3rd,
during a presidential campaign.
The judge didn't want to see statements of, let's say, Judge Merchant, and whose daughter is a Democrat political activist, or consultant,
hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars from Democrat.
And then Donald Trump asked for a bid to adjournment to postpone this trial that's in New York until the Supreme Court ruled on the presidential immunity claims. Then we have April 8th, 10th. We have the 3 straight days Trump's lawyers appear before New York appeals court judges to see that his criminal trial be postponed. I mean, he wasn't given any leeway or anything. Let's hurry this up and let's take him and bury him, right?
Right.
And so then we go April 15th, 2024. I'm just giving a little background to everybody. Jury selection begins in Donald Trump's case. Then we got April 22nd, 2024, opening statements are delivered, followed by a start of witnessing testimony. And then April 30th, 2024, we got Judge Merchant holds Donald Trump in contempt of court and fines him $9,000 for repeatedly violating a gag order that bars him from making public statements about witnesses, jurors, and others in the case.
Your order has me gagging.
And the thing of it is, I will say this, if you violated a gag order, usually you do it the first time. You don't go and wait until several pop up. I mean, and $9,000 seems a little harsh.
But it's Donald Trump. We're just
right. And then May 6, 2024, Donald Trump is again held in contempt of court for another fine for $1,000 to another gag order. And then we got May 7th, Donald Trump's lawyers ask for a mistrial after Stormy Daniels gives an Aunt Tim's graphic amount of sexual encounters she says that she had with Trump in 2006, a claim that prompted Michael Cohen to pay her $130,000 to keep quiet on the eve of 2016 election. Right?
That's just there for embarrassment.
Right.
Yeah. That's all they can do.
And then May 20th, 2024, prosecution rests its case. May 21, Trump's lawyers rest their defense case. And this is the interesting part. Robert Costello was an attorney who offered, when I talked about Cohen's attorney, offered to represent Cohen after the FBI raided his property in 2018, testified that Cohen told him Trump knew nothing about Stormy Daniels or the hush money deal. Interesting, isn't it?
So Stormy gets paid, threatening that she's going to expose something, saying it to Cohen, and the reality is it's actually just a shakedown. And Cohen just sends an invoice, and Trump doesn't even know that he's being shaken down.
Well, and
according to that, if Trump didn't even know that he was being extorted,
right? Because he says Trump knew nothing.
Then where's the crime?
Right. So why wouldn't that testimony right there, as a jury member listening to that testimony,
been booted immediately?
Right.
I'm thinking
if I was a jury, I'm like, wait, if the dude didn't know anything, what are we even sitting here?
The facts, from what this sounds like, is the trial should be against Michael Cohen, if anybody.
Well, yeah, Cohen's already indicted himself in his testimony. I mean, there's 4 or 5 felonies he committed in his own testimony.
And perjury.
Perjury. He admitted to embezzling money from Trump. Yeah, I kept some of those funds illegally. What?
That's the big one for attorneys.
Dude, I was like 60 grand, wasn't it? Something like that, something along those lines.
Did we hear anything about him getting disbarred yet?
I think he was disbarred when he went to jail.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just curious, and I'm
just
curious.
like Avenatti. I just remembered who her original attorney was. Stormy Daniels. Avenatti.
I'm just curious.
Remember when Brian Stelter said you should run for president next? I just like you. You're awesome.
Well, so then we have, so he gets convicted, right, on May 30th. But so July 11th, now we have a sentencing, and isn't that kind of funny that it was right after the first debate?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. What's July 11th
And then
is when
right
he's supposed to be
before the
sentenced,
convention.
and the 14th is when the convention. No coincidence there.
So
nothing to see here.
With the federal case, you have the special prosecutor that comes out like a bad penny, Jack Smith.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the guy's name. Sounds like an alias, but he ended up went after Bob McDonnell, Virginia governor, and that conviction in that case was unanimously overturned.
Right.
Now this guy gets another chance to do it again.
You know, their track record, the feds used to have a 97% conviction rate because they would just say, okay, plead down to this, or we're going to throw everything that we can at you. And most of the convictions they had were just simply plea deals.
Or people that some people go to trial and don't have effective counsel or the right counsel for the case.
I know in my buddy's case, in his federal case for mortgage fraud, 2 counts of attempted wire fraud, they were two $600,000 two identical counts of attempted wire fraud. Right up until sentencing, they were saw as concurrent, or as concurrent. During sentencing, in violation of the law, the DA asked that they be consecutive, and instead of getting 4.25 years,
you got 9,
8.5,
8.5,
and he served almost all of that. And they threatened him and said, if you don't plead guilty to these 2 counts of attempted wire fraud, we will charge you with the entire $54 million Ponzi scheme that was spread across 8 total defendants. We will charge you individually with all of that money. It was a railroad all the way along, and they said, we've got to make an example of you. Well, you didn't make an example of any of the mortgage lender, any of the bank loan officers that signed off on these mortgages. You didn't make an example of any of these other people. It was ridiculous.
Trial tax.
Yeah, it was ridiculous, and the judge went along with it. All right, so we talked about being fired. Any last? Let's do some final thoughts here, and you guys signed your paper, but you got to sign mine in the big Sharpie.
We have to sign ours.
Okay, I'm gonna sign yours.
We got to sign this in the Sharpie.
Sign it in the Sharpie.
I think we talked a little bit about our campaign, but again, I am running for state representative for the 50th district. I asked everyone to get on our webpage. It's LivingstonLikes.com.
I want to pull that up real quick.
And it's also, you can get on Facebook, which is Kristina Lyke for state rep, period. We just, in the last couple of weeks, we actually launched a advertisement with Dan, myself, and Judge with going downtown Fowlerville, talking about how we live here. We don't want outside interests coming into our county.
Yeah.
We're always going to protect our county. We also have another one that we did, and I did, that talks about how I go to work every single day and fight for constitutional rights for individuals and what they can expect from me. I ask everyone to look at those advertisements, because those are not just ads out there.
Mm-hmm.
That's about me, myself, and I.
Absolutely.
And we want to make sure. And if you have questions, feel free to give me a call, because I want individuals to get to know me. I try to get to know every single person in this community by getting out there every single day.
I think you signed yours second time.
Oh, I did, didn't I?
Yep. I like it though.
I just like my signature.
It looks nice. So there's some of the issues right down the side there: legal immigration, education, affordability, mental health, which we talked about a bunch of these, adoption, Second Amendment, domestic violence, business
Yeah, adoption. I'd like to make some incentives for individuals instead of having we have this abortion, and it's not
the solution.
It's not the solution. We need to have incentives for individuals to be able to adopt children right here in the state of Michigan.
I got a number of families that I know that have adopted, and absolutely beautiful families, and you wouldn't know it.
And I believe if we had those incentives, we might be able to reduce the number of children that have died from abortions.
I 100% agree with you. 100%. Kristina?
It's a pleasure.
Dan?
Thanks, Jeremy.
Always a pleasure. Thank you for your legal analysis. I need to have you guys on here like once a month just to go over legal cases and stuff.
Our pleasure.
We'll start really promoting it to be like, look, another legal analysis show. I can't even talk. Another legal analysis show. So thank you guys. Thanks everybody in chat. Appreciate you all out there. Like, share, and subscribe. Hit the thumbs up. Appreciate all of you. Make sure you hit that thumbs up. I see how many are in there, and I see there's like 3 thumbs. So get over there and do that.
And thanks for everyone listening tonight.
Yeah, thank you guys. Please like, share, and subscribe. The QR codes are up on there if you'd like to support what we're doing here so that we can bring you good content like this, great content like this. And we will catch you guys on Tuesday for another rant.
This is my brain.
Dad, that's an egg.
Yeah, that's an egg.
Honey,
Dude.
that's an egg.
Seriously.
That's an egg.
It's a metaphor.
It's still an egg.
That's an egg.
I would challenge you.
That's an egg.
I know my brain is not actually an egg, okay? It's a metaphor.
Metaphor or not, that's not your brain.
It's just an egg.
Una cerveza para mí. My egg is my brain.
Can I at least have some bacon, maybe some sausage with that egg, though?
Oh, I want some bacon.
I want crepes.
Have some bacon and pancakes with that egg.
I'll take it with cheese.
Extra large brown cage-free eggs.
Can I have your brain with cakes?
So sausage and a little toast and potato.
That would be great.
Does it have antibiotics?
I don't know, man. I'm not good at this shit.
Well, they got to be able to resist some diseases.
You resist the disease.
Has it got any hormones?
Maybe. It's cage free.
Vegetarian?
Maybe.
Are they vegan?
No, I eat steak.
Never apologize and never explain.
Never apologize.
Yeah. Never apologize and never explain.
Whew, you sure gotta climb a lot of steps to get to this Capitol building here in Washington. Well, I wonder who that sad little scrap of paper is.
I'm just a bill. Yes, I'm only a bill. And I'm sitting here on Capitol Hill. Well, it's a long, long journey to the capital city. It's a long, long wait while I'm sitting in committee. But I know I'll be a law someday. At least I hope and pray that I will. But today I am still just a bill.
Gee, Bill, you certainly have a lot of patience and courage.
Well, I got this far. When I started, I wasn't even a bill. I was just an idea. Some folks back home decided they wanted a law passed, so they called their local congressman, and he said, "You're right, there ought to be a law." And he sat down and wrote me out and introduced me to Congress, and I became a bill. And I'll remain a bill until they decide to make me a law. I'm just a bill. Yes, I'm only a bill. And I got as far as Capitol Hill. Well, now I'm stuck in committee, and I'll sit here and wait while a few key congressmen discuss and debate whether they should let me be a law. I hope and pray that they will. But today I am still just a bill.
Listen to those congressmen arguing. Is all that discussion and debate about you?
Yeah, I'm one of the lucky ones. Most bills never even get this far. I hope they decide to report on me favorably, otherwise I may die.
Die?
Yeah, die in committee. Oh, but it looks like I'm going to live. Now I go to the House of Representatives and they vote on me.
If they vote yes, what happens?
Then I go to the Senate and the whole thing starts all over again.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. I'm just a bill. Yes, I'm only a bill. And if they vote for me on Capitol Hill, well, then I'm off to the White House where I'll wait in a line with a lot of other bills for the president to sign. And if he signs me, then I'll be along. How I hope and pray that he will. But today I am still just a bill.
You mean even if the whole Congress says you should be a law, the president can still say no?
Yes, that's called a veto. If the president vetoes me, I have to go back to Congress and they vote on me again, and by that time you're so
By
old.
that time, it's very unlikely that you become a law. It's not easy to become a law, is it?
No, but how I hope and pray that I will. But today I am still just a bill.
He signed your bill. Now you're a law.
Oh, yes.